I hope she leaves me alone.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Haxton versus Haxton. Step forward.
21-year-old Kayla Haxton is suing her sister, 25-year-old Veda Haxton, for ticket charges and punitive damages for using her identity when she was ticketed for possession of drug paraphernalia.
Ms. Haxton, it is your claim that the defendant, who's your sister, sometime in 2016, used your name and identification when she was stopped for either a misdemeanor or a felony arrest.
Yes.
And as a consequence thereof, your credit has been affected, your career in law enforcement jeopardized, and you have fines and tickets that you have to pay that have accumulated some interest. What was the date on the ticket?
It is March 8, 2016.
And is the ticket signed?
Yes.
And whose name is it signed?
My name.
What's the offense?
Possession or used drug paraphernalia.
Can I see the ticket?
Yes.
Ms. Haxton, I'd like you to show me proof of where you were on the 8th of March, 2016.
I don't know if I have any proof showing where I was. I don't clearly remember that day.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You do have a history of using other people's names when you're arrested. Why do you do that?
Honestly...
No, I want you to be dishonest with me. Tell me why.
I don't know.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Kayla Haxton says her older sister, Veda Haxton, used her identity when she was ticketed for possession of drug paraphernalia.
Your answer says that it could not possibly have been me because I was in prison most of 2016.
Correct.
So what you were looking at, I assume just now, as the dates of your confinement.
Correct.
And what were the dates of your confinement?
I had 9/21/2015 and 3/16/2016.
You mean for a day? Let me see what you're looking at, please. Because if you were in jail from September 21st until March 15th, it couldn't have been you. I actually don't understand this. Not your last offense, but your last offense was in November of 2017.
Correct.
Were you incarcerated at any time in November of 2017?
No, Your Honor.
You were convicted of sale of tobacco.
Correct.
Okay. Now, on March 16th, 2016, in the year between September 15 and March 16th, were you incarcerated?
I was incarcerated and arrested on the 3rd in March of 2016. That was the
March
day I was
16th,
arrested.
you were arrested.
Correct.
So you were not in custody on March 8th, 2016.
I don't believe so.
Okay, that's what we have to know. So that defense is out the window. Now it's your job, Ms. Haxton, to convince me that it was your sister who used your name when she was arrested on March 8th.
I have evidence of Veda using 4 false names.
May I see them?
Yes. And it's the highlighted.
Well, you do have a history of using other people's names when you're arrested. Why do you do that?
Honestly...
No, I want you to be dishonest with me.
That's why I feel like I'm an easy target for anyone
No.
to say.
I don't care what you feel. I don't care what you think. I said to you, why do you use other people's names and identities when you're arrested? You've done that 4 times and been convicted of it. Tell me why.
I don't know. I was using drugs. I wasn't in the right state of mind when I've ever been arrested. I haven't been involved in drugs or anything for 3 years. I've been clean and sober.
Well, you were arrested again in 2017.
I was cited at my job. I was actually only doing the first week of training. I got in trouble for selling cigarettes to somebody because I didn't ID them. I was still in my training process at my job place, so.
So what you're telling me is, A, you were using drugs, and this arrest was for possession of drug paraphernalia in March of 2016. That was on March 6th. That's number one. Number two, you have a history, at least as far as I know, of 4 separate occasions where in order to avoid individual responsibility, what you did was you used somebody else's name. As you said, I was on drugs and I didn't know what I was doing. So that's number two. So we're getting close now. So now she has a history of problem behavior. I think it's great that you've been clean and sober for 3 years, but that was the history. And she has a history of using somebody else's name. I need more.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Tell me how you found out about this ticket.
I got a letter in the mail stating that I owed $324.
Did you ultimately pay them?
I did not.
Is there any reason why you didn't?
Because it wasn't me.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Kayla Haxton says her older sister, Veda Haxton, used her identity when she was ticketed for possession of drug paraphernalia.
Okay.
I have proof that I was in school also.
I'd like to take a look at that. I'm certain that this was not your ticket.
The first one is going to be a letter from my counselor, and then my school history, and it's going to be on the 3rd page. It's highlighted that I was in school.
Okay, so now I know it wasn't you.
Yes.
Now we have to know about your sister.
All right. And I have text messages of her stating that she's not denying it.
May I see it, please?
I also have a recording of Veda stating that she would pay for my ticket.
I'd like to see it.
Okay. I am in South Dakota. I have a bill for $400.
Where?
In South Dakota.
I can't see it.
Oh, did they bill it to you?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
So-
I'll pay that when I get taxes.
Okay.
On the 30th.
But now that's going to be on my record that I had a paraphernalia.
You have to make it lower. I can't hear.
It was your first
You have to
one,
make it
so
lower.
once you pay
It's
it,
too
it
loud.
won't show on there. Because I looked it up.
Well, I hope not. I'm going to call and ask them, and if it's on my record, Veda, I'm going to tell them it
Tell
was
them
you.
it wasn't you. Tell them it wasn't you.
Well, I'm going to tell them if I have no reason of proving it, you better confess to it. If they try to say that that's going to be on my record,
No,
like,
they can't do anything about it anyways.
what do you
There's
mean?
no proof. Like, there's no proof that it was. They didn't fingerprint. They didn't do anything like that. So, even if you do say it to me, I won't get charged with it.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Are you in a family dispute? Go to judgejudy.com, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter.
Can you tell me how you found out about this ticket, Miss Haxton?
I got a letter in the mail stating that I owed $324.
I see it.
Yes. I have multiple letters.
I'd like to see them. Did you ultimately pay them?
I did not,
Is there any reason why you didn't?
because it wasn't me.
Did you retain an attorney?
I talked with somebody, and they stated that I would have to get it expunged off my record, but I would have to work with somebody in South Dakota who has a license. Yes.
Right. Let's see if we can help you do that. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. We're finished.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
It is what it is. It's done and over with.
She doesn't want to fess up to what she did.
Demanding me to pay her money is ridiculous.
She's just trying to make herself look better.
I don't know who got the ticket.
My sister was an addict since the day I could remember.
I've been off drugs for 3 years.
The family functions are going to be awkward, but, you know, it is what it is.
Were you taken into custody by the police?
Yes, I was assaulted, stabbed.
Appointed confrontation with his ex's new man.
Her boyfriend is coming out from the hallway. He faces me, I face him. She's still hitting me, stabbed me in my eye.
Sustaining multiple stab wounds to the face and head. Who do you think stabbed him?
I have no idea.
Do you think he fell into a knife several times in his face?
Judge Judy.
You are about to enter the courtroom of Judge Judith Scheindlin. This is Judge Judy.
Brooke Anderson is suing Manuel Castro for an assault, cyber harassment, and a false CPS report.
Order. All rise. It's case number 371 on the calendar in the matter of Anderson versus Castro.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat, please.
Miss Anderson, each of you have a complaint against the other for an assault, some vandalism. From what I read, you met on Facebook online a couple of years ago.
Yes.
And the relationship, whatever it was, didn't turn into much of a relationship. You are alleging that Mr. Castro assaulted you. Give me the date that you allege that assault happened.
The 1st of January.
Of what year?
2018.
Did you report this assault to the police?
Yes.
Was there an investigation?
There was an investigation. It was open and closed.
So there
Because
is...
it wasn't true. That's why.
I don't want to hear from you. Okay? Now you understand.
Yep.
Yes is the answer. The incident happened on January 1st of 2018. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
When did you report it to the police?
That right when it happened.
Were you ever contacted by the police, Mr. Castro, with regard to an allegation that you had assaulted the plaintiff?
I was there for that incident. I got arrested that night.
So you were arrested on January 1st on her complaint?
I called the police, which will come out later, why.
You called the police on January 1st.
This is because I was assaulted by her and her ex-boyfriend or her boyfriend.
Were you taken into custody by the police?
Yes.
Where were you taken into custody?
Indio Police. I was there for 3 days.
No. On what street were you taken into custody?
Monroe Street.
Who lives there?
Miss Anderson.
When you were taken into custody by the police, were you transported to a hospital?
Yes, I was, which I got medical bills.
Just a second.
I was assaulted, stabbed.
Couldn't do it my way.
Okay.
You were arrested on her street, but you were taken to a hospital.
Yes.
Now, Miss Anderson, I read your complaint. Your complaint doesn't allege that you were assaulted by him on January 1st. You say that there was an incident that occurred in November when he slashed your tires.
Yes.
Now, what I'd like you to do is, was there ever any money involved?
Yes, there was.
Yeah.
Who gave who money?
I've given her plenty of money, and I have proof.
Just a second. The answer is, I gave her money.
Yes, I have.
How much?
Just a little under $1,000.
And what did you give her money for?
And she was late on the rent, or she was short on her rent, and she needed money. I bought her a battery for her car just to give her money,
Okay.
Because of the damages that he did.
I didn't ask you anything.
I'm sorry.
On the evening of January 1st, you weren't seeing each other at the time.
We were. That's why I went over there. She called me, and at first I didn't want to go
She said,
there.
actually, you say she texted you.
Yeah, you can text and call.
Do you have the text?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to
Well,
see
no,
it.
I don't have that conversation, but I have other conversations where...
Just a second.
Okay.
So, you don't have that text of January 1st?
No. I don't know what happened to it.
So you say she texted you and invited you to come to her house?
Yes, she did.
Did she tell you why?
It was purely sexual. She told me to come over there and have sex, and it was New Year's Day, so, of course.
On January 1st, were you at home?
Yes.
Who were you at home with?
Myself.
Nobody else was there?
No.
That's a lot.
Did you?
Because her ex-boyfriend I have text right here. They assaulted me, and he was giving me props for not saying nothing to the police.
My ex-boyfriend.
Just a second.
Yeah.
Just a second.
Which assaulted me, and you assaulted me
Mr. Castro.
Too. Yeah.
You're not helping yourself.
Okay.
I know you keep saying okay, but I'm telling you, you're not helping yourself. I'll get to what you have.
Okay.
In my fashion. I don't permit talking to each other.
All right.
I know you say okay, but I want you to do it.
Okay.
So you were home by yourself?
Yes.
Did Mr. Castro come to your home?
Yes.
Do you live in a private home or an apartment?
An apartment.
Do you have to be buzzed in, or can you just walk in?
It's gated, so it has a code on the door. He
Okay.
didn't come inside the gate.
So at some point you had to go outside?
Yeah, we were going to meet outside.
Just a second. Okay, so you had a pre-arrangement to meet with him?
Yes.
Follow me carefully.
Okay, yes.
Just answer my questions. You had a pre-arrangement to meet with him?
Yes.
Your pre-arrangement was made by phone or text message?
A little bit of both.
Okay. Do you have any of those? The answer is yes or no?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. So there must have been a specific time because you weren't going to stand outside of your gate. What time were you supposed to meet him?
I think it was about 2 a.m.
2 o'clock in the morning?
Yes. He was bringing over money from the damages he already did to my car. And he had said that he was bringing his little friend, which meant he was bringing a gun with him.
Don't tell me what it meant.
Okay.
Because I don't believe that. I don't believe that if you say you're meeting him 2 o'clock in the morning outside of your gate, that he says he's...
Exactly.
That he said to you, I'm coming over with my little friend, which means a gun, and you went outside 2 o'clock in the morning. That would make you a moron. Are you a moron?
I told him that, that not to come over, that just forget about it. I'll have somebody come pick up the money.
But you found your way outside, Miss Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't have money to fix my car. He had slashed...
No, just a second. That's not my question to you. What you're telling me and what you want me to buy is that he said to you, I'm coming over to give you money for the damage I did to your car at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm coming over bringing a gun. And I said, well, you'd have to be a moron if you went outside of your gate in a gated community where you needed a code where he couldn't get in, and you went outside the gate to meet him, which is what you told me. Then you told me, I said, just forget it. I'll send somebody to get it.
Yes.
But you found yourself outside of the gate at 2 o'clock in the morning. And I want to know how that happened.
Because he insisted on coming over. So I said, okay, I need that money.
He insisted on coming over with his gun, and you went outside alone to meet him.
Yes.
Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
This
man has done so much harassment to me.
Miss Anderson,
it's ridiculous.
Listen to me.
My hand.
Listen to me. Doesn't make sense to me. Okay, it may make sense to me when I go further with this story, but right now it doesn't make sense to me.
No.
You know you're annoying me. You're so annoying you may lose.
I'm sorry.
No,
I'm sorry.
Keep saying I'm sorry, and I keep telling you you're so annoying you may lose. So now you get outside, and you're outside the gate, and he's there. I want you to tell me what you want me to believe.
I don't know what his intentions were. He tried grabbing me. When I had met him, he had got out of his vehicle.
How did he try to grab you?
Just like walked up and was like this, and then grabbed me towards him, and I just kind of pushed him away. And he was still like holding me on tight, and so I just kept
holding you around.
Yes.
Yes.
And there were some people that I came by, 2 men, and saw this, heard me or whatever, saw this going on, and got him off of me.
Then what did you do? Now the 2 men got him off you, so I assume you went inside your gate.
Yes.
Just a second. You went back inside of your gate, and I want you to tell me what's the next thing that you did.
I ran upstairs and called 911.
You went upstairs. Do you have that 911 call?
No, I don't.
Do you have the report?
Yes, I do.
Okay. From the first?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you want them?
I would. I would like to see the report from the first.
Do you want all of them or just the first?
No, I want to see the report from the first. This is the first report that you called in at 3:27 in the morning.
Yes.
A report of stalking. That's what you called in.
No,
that's what it says here. Now, at what time, sir, were you arrested that night?
It was around 3 o'clock in the morning.
Where were you arrested?
Right there on Monroe Street when I was fixing my tire because somebody slashed me.
You were arrested on Monroe Street?
Yes.
Near your car?
Yes.
Miss Anderson, do you have any medical reports for me to look at?
Yes.
I would like to look at it.
Also, like...
No, I don't...
My hand.
I'm not looking at your hand. I want you to show me a medical report on January 1st, 2018.
Oh, I didn't agree to go to the hospital.
Just a second. That's all I'm interested in.
Okay.
Okay. When was the next call that you made to the police? On January 1st, if there was another one.
I didn't make a second call.
Okay, but you did make this call to the police.
Yes.
And this call to the police says stalking, not stabbing, not assault, stalking.
I told them.
Things make sense. Things don't make sense. If I were stabbed, which is what you said you were, in the hand, when I called the police, I would say I was just stabbed in the hand. I wouldn't say someone's stalking me.
But I did not know that.
Don't want to hear you.
I didn't know I was stabbed, though.
Well, if you don't know you was...
The cops, like, pretty much told me that. Because he had stab wounds to him, too.
Okay. You know, I'm not believing you. Right from going outside, I'm coming over with my friend with my gun, and you going outside of a gated place where you needed a code to get in and we're waiting for him 2 o'clock in the morning. That doesn't make sense to me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You, an intelligent woman trying to protect your daughter, you think the better course, instead of going to the district attorney and saying, he assaulted me, you think the better course is to go on the Judge Judy television program?
They did nothing.
I'm just asking you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Brooke Anderson says Manuel Castro stabbed her in the hand, harassed her via the internet, and filed a false CPS report. Manuel is countersuing for assault, vandalism, and slander.
Okay, now, you say that Miss Anderson called you over to her house.
Mm-hmm.
Did she meet you outside?
Yes, she did.
What was the first thing she said to you, if she said anything, when you saw her?
She said nothing at all. That's what worried me. I was like, why ain't she talking to me? She asked me to come over here, and that's when I felt like something was going on, And then she turns around and starts just wailing on me.
How was she wailing on? What do you mean?
Hitting me in my face and everything, punching me. So I ended up trying to go back to my truck. She's blocking me from opening my truck. I didn't even touch her or anything. I'm trying to push her away, trying to get away. At that time, I turned around and looked, and her boyfriend is coming out from the hallway where she propped the door open to let him out easily.
What happened when you saw him? You saw him coming out.
He ended up coming around. He faces me. I face him. She's still hitting me, stabbed me in my eye. I ducked down. I'm swinging back, and the hoodie that I was wearing covers my head. And at that time, I was just thinking in my mind, I need to get out of here, get out, because I'm really, if I stay right here. So I end up getting into the alleyway. He stabs me again, which you can see right here on my head. After that, I turn around, I look at him, I'm facing him. He's a little ways away from me. I see her in the background slashing my tires, and he ends up just walking away. I call 911, saying I've just been assaulted. I don't know who it was.
Do you have the 911
No,
phone?
I don't.
Go ahead.
So I wanted to get out of there. So I get back to my truck, and I drive across the street, and I start changing my tire.
Just a second.
He said he didn't know who that was.
Where did they go that you were now right on Monroe Street changing your tire?
They went back into the apartments.
Okay. Then you called the police.
Yes.
Did you wait there on Monroe Street?
I'm changing my tires, and the police came.
Okay. When the police came, did they take you into custody?
No, not right away.
What happened next?
They asked me questions, what was going on. I didn't want to say nothing. And for some reason, he knew that I was lying. He knew that I didn't want to say nothing. So it finally came out that it was, I told him it was Brooke and her boyfriend. And from there, they went to her house and talked to her. And then she comes up with, I tried to kidnap her. And if I try to kidnap you...
No, you didn't try to kidnap her.
I know I didn't.
No,
I know I didn't.
I didn't get that from her.
I know I didn't.
I didn't get that from her. Okay. But at some point, you told the police when they came to talk to you...
That he had tried to grab me.
Forget grab you! That he stabbed you.
Yeah.
No. I never once told the police. I didn't know how this had happened. They figured it out as him getting stabbed, that I was stabbed also.
Now, you filed a restraining order against him.
Yes.
Did you have a trial on the restraining order?
No, I didn't. The temporary.
I was never even served.
What is it that you don't understand about keeping your mouth shut? You filed a restraining order against him. Did you go to trial on the restraining order?
No.
Why not?
Because when I had the restraining order, he put up this a profile on this adult dating site.
Just a second. Is what you're telling me you didn't go back to court?
No.
So it was dismissed?
Yes.
That's the answer. You're going to give me an excuse for in a second.
No, not an excuse. The reason.
Just a second.
It's protecting my daughter.
There's no reason that you don't go back to court if you feel as if somebody's threatening you, especially if what you say is that
I was feared for my daughter. That's why I didn't go back there.
That's a reason to get a restraining order.
But it had my daughter's name on there.
That's a reason to get a restraining order.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Who do you think stabbed him?
I have no idea.
Do you think he stabbed himself?
I didn't know that he was getting stabbed until he told me.
You think he fell into a knife several times in his face?
Who knows? Who knows with him? I have no idea.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Brooke Anderson is accusing Manuel Castro of stabbing her in the hand, harassing her over the internet, and filing a false CPS report.
You, an intelligent woman trying to protect your daughter, you think the better course, instead of going to the district attorney and saying, he's stalking me, this is what he did. He put my daughter's photograph up on a dating site, and he assaulted me. You think the better recourse is to go on the Judge Judy television program.
They did nothing. They did nothing.
No, I'm just asking you.
And this is my last resort.
This is not a recourse.
No, I know.
Everything that you say to me is true. There's nothing I can do to him.
I know.
But
the damages is what, I mean, I realize that obviously that he's not going to get any charges for anything that he's done.
Well, that's not true, madam. If someone puts up on a website and advertises a child for dating or for sex, police are going to take that seriously if you can prove it. Now I would like to see what proof you have of
I've got
him.
a lot.
No, not a lot. I would like to see what proof you have that he put up advertising, either you or you and your daughter, on an adult dating site.
He says right here.
May I see it, please? Would you like me to take down that profile, is what you said to her. And she says to you, what one? You know which one, the only one. What profile did you put up of her?
I didn't put no profile up.
He put my address, my apartment number, my phone number.
I don't know any of that. That's what you say. So far, you've given me no proof of that. Now, can I see your medical on January 1st? I'm only interested in January 1st, 2018.
You see it says,
Shut.
okay.
I don't want you to say anything. Okay. The doctor, who at the time of his admission noted for medical clearance after sustaining multiple stab wounds to the face and head, and his bleeding was controlled. Who do you think stabbed him?
I have no
Do you
idea.
think he stabbed himself?
I didn't know that he
You
was
think
being
he fell
stabbed
into?
until
You
they told me.
think he fell into a knife several times in his face?
Who knows? Who knows? I have no idea.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Are you the victim of an assault? Go to judgejudy.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Now, listen to me. I'm a judge.
Yes.
I don't know either one of you. He's irritating. You're not as irritating. That doesn't mean you're telling the truth, because at my age, I've lived through a whole lot of things, and it's just common sense. If you're calling to report that something happened to you, something bad happened to you, and you're calling in the middle of the night to the police, you tell them the worst thing happened to you. If you were stabbed, which you say you were in your complaint, then that's the first thing that you write here. And no medical record.
I didn't go because it didn't hurt me. 3 days later, when the adrenaline came off.
Let's move forward.
Oh, man.
It's going to be so easy for you. Actually both deserve each other.
Yeah, right.
When was the
man
last
has been doing this to me for a year and a half. I've feared for my life.
I would strongly urge you, if you fear for your life, to take a copy of this video and go to the local police department and say to them, I fear for my life from this man.
I did.
Your regress is not $5,000 from the defendant, because if you're truly afraid of him, that will only make him angrier. Now, let's get to you.
Yeah.
I certainly know that a year has passed since this incident when you didn't sue her.
Yeah, I wasn't.
And so I also know that the only reason that you filed a countersuit is because she's suing you. Because otherwise you wouldn't
Yeah,
have filed.
because she's already gotten money from me. I've given her plenty of money, and now she's going to lie again to get money out of me?
Stay far away from her.
No, I thought we were done.
Do you work, Mr. Castro?
Yes, I do.
He
Same
still
place
has his profile up. There's still men coming over to my house. I can't even go outside with my daughter and play.
Thank you very much. Go to the police. We'll give you a copy of the tape. We're done.
Why is that excused and they step out?
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I should have just took it into my own hands in the first place.
She did nothing but lie.
Nobody's helping me. I fear for my life, and I did call the police and say that I fear for my life and my daughter's life.
Just making up lies. And you can see right there that she had no proof of nothing.
This is ridiculous.
She leaves me alone, and everything is just done and over with.
You went there. It was a terrible room. You got out.
A vacation interrupted by a bad rental.
She was supposed to give us a certain amount of money back. She retained $891.50.
That is not true. I did not retain. Don't talk to anybody else.
Interruptions are a no-no.
I didn't understand when I could interject.
Never. Do you take something that makes you hyper?
I'm just naturally hyper. I've never drank caffeine even.
Judge Judy.
You are about to enter the courtroom of Judge Judith Scheindlin. This is Judge Judy.
Craig Weinstein is suing Ellen Schneiderman for the return of money he paid for a Beverly Hills vacation rental.
Order. All rise. It's case number 361 on the calendar, the matter of Weinstein versus Schneiderman.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Mr. Weinstein, you and your wife were traveling cross-country and saw an ad for a cottage that you rented. Based upon the ad that you saw, the cottage belongs to the defendant.
That's correct, Your
When
Honor.
you got there, according to your complaint, it was not what was represented in the ad. You had rented the cottage for 5 nights?
6 nights, Your
6
Honor.
nights. You and your wife stayed there for 1 night.
That's correct.
And then you moved out and found other accommodations, I assume at a greater expense.
That's correct. We were scrambling.
And you want a refund of the 5 nights that you did not spend there.
That's correct.
If that's what you want.
It's actually more than that, Your Honor.
You want more than that?
Well, we want the entire 6 nights refunded because Ms. Schneiderman breached our settlement agreement. She was supposed to give us a certain amount of money back, and she shorted us. So since she breached the settlement agreement, we're looking for the entire 6 nights.
Okay. From here, you're going to get 5 nights if I find that she misrepresented the
He
ad.
already has received. Okay.
I'm
Not
not
yet.
ready for
Okay.
you.
Sorry.
So, first tell me how much you paid for the 6 nights.
We paid $2,244.
$2,244.
That's correct.
Am I allowed to talk now? Oh.
No, when I ask you a question, you'll talk.
Okay.
Unless the figure he gave me is wrong.
Well, that includes a refundable security deposit.
Just a second.
Yeah.
All I asked is that what he paid you, $2,244. What she interjected is going to affect my math, and math is not my strong suit. How much was the security deposit?
$600, Your Honor.
Did you get that back?
Yes, I did.
Fine. 4, 6, 1644. So we are talking about 1644. That's going to tell me how much it was per night, or $274 per night.
It was actually not that because there was a $65 cleaning fee and a $139 service fee. It was $240 a night for the room.
Okay. How much did you give him back?
Airbnb, our VRBO refunded him through me $752.50.
Okay.
Plus his
security deposit.
Plus his security deposit, and then I had to pay a fee to the agency.
That's correct.
So all I retained of all of that, even though I couldn't rebook the room at this point, he was canceled.
I don't care.
All I was able to retain was $291.50.
I don't care about your fee.
Okay.
Without the fees, how much money did you retain?
I retained, it looks here, this is the printout.
If I might, she retained $891.50, which is what I paid for 1 night's.
That is not true. I did not retain $800.
Don't talk to anybody else.
I did not retain that amount.
Stop.
Oh, sorry.
Judge?
Listen to me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
If what you do is interrupt, I'm just going to give him what he wants and throw you out. Do you understand?
Yes, I was confused when I can talk. Okay.
Chill.
2244 minus 1352.50 is $891.50. That's what I paid.
$892, and the room.
$891.50. Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry.
The room per night was $240. So $892
Plus
less
the cleaning fee. Plus the cleaning fee.
I don't care about a cleaning fee. I'm going to look at the pictures to see whether he's going to get this money.
Yes.
And I'm going to say, I'm talking
Oh, sorry.
2, 5, which is $652. That's less 1 night stay. $652. Stay there 1 night. Now I'd like to see the advertisement that you answered.
I have.
Just show me the advertisement that you answered.
Pretty nice house.
It looks lovely.
5.88 million. Appraised value. I'm sorry.
I understand that you're upset, but you didn't go there and have a heart attack and end up in Cedars. Nothing bad happened to you. You went there. It was a terrible room. You got out. You went to Pacific Palisades. You rented a nice room with your wife, and you had another 5 days there. And it was lousy. It's like going to a hotel in the Bahamas or the Caribbean and all the plumbing is out for the first night that you get there. Oh my God, it's terrible. All the plumbing is out. You can't use water. You can't flush the toilets or anything else. The next night, everything is fixed. It's back on. You're staying. They comp you for a night. They comp you for 2 nights. They do something. We're sorry it happened. It was an accident. We didn't mean for this pipe to burst. It wasn't. And then you had a nice time. Nobody got an infection. Nobody ended up losing a limb. So, Mr. Weinstein, get over it. This is a very nice house.
I was with my wife, Judge.
This is a very nice... So what?
And I have...
It was a 6-night vacation. We spent the whole second day looking for alternate accommodation.
I don't believe that, though, because I got a text that your wife accidentally...
Schneiderman.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Shut up.
I'm sorry.
You keep saying you're sorry. You can't control yourself. Are you on some kind of medication that you can't control yourself? No, I'm asking you a serious question. That's a serious question.
No,
you keep saying I'm sorry,
I
and you keep talking.
When I could interject.
When you could never. Not unless I ask you a question.
Okay, I misunderstood the
you've never been in a courtroom before?
No, I haven't.
Never. You've never been, is what you're telling me you've never been in a courtroom?
I've never been.
Now
you've got a traffic ticket.
Well, that's just...
I'm not a lawyer. I went to law school. I'm not a lawyer.
Whatever you're taking, you're not taking enough.
You told me you're a lawyer.
Weinstein, I'm going to throw you out.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to throw you out because, bottom line, you're out $652. My heart doesn't bleed for you. Do you understand? Okay, now I want to see pictures of what your accommodation looked like. I see what the ad was.
I have pictures of the room.
That's what I want to see. What you're telling me, it was one room?
Yes.
And the entire pool area. And the entire pool area and all the furniture out
there.
there.
What kind of... Don't you interject unless I ask you a question? Don't you understand? I'll tell you what I tell my grandchildren. You don't live in the lobby. You live in the apartment. What did you put this up for? What is this a picture of? Show her. I'm going to make a big circle here. What is this a picture of?
I can't see from here. I'm sorry. Oh, those are comparable. I don't know. That's not my home. Oh, that was, I guess, when they purchased the home. That was at one time when it was for sale years ago, what it looked like, but that's not what my home looks like anymore.
I don't care what your home doesn't look like anymore. I want to know what it is that
I never
he saw.
posted this. This is from Zillow. It was when the house was for sale before I ever purchased it.
Did you?
I never put that up on it. I have photos of the room in the house. I never posted that. That's Zillow.
I want you to stop. Do you take something that makes you hyper?
I'm just naturally hyper. I've never drank caffeine even.
Do you have a copy of the ad that was posted?
I do.
For the property?
I do.
I'd like to see it.
Ma'am.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's what I do.
See, I told you I never practiced law. I just went to law school. There's the listing, and here's the photos with the listing.
I want to see the listing.
And the photos were part of the listing.
Okay, great. I want to see it.
And there are photos of bedroom.
Shh. Mr. Weinstein, I want you to look at this, and I want you to tell me whether this is what the courtyard looks like in the guest house.
That is an accurate picture of the courtyard.
And is this an accurate picture of the pool area?
Yes, it is, Judge.
This is the picture that you gave me, is that correct?
That's one of them, yes, Judge.
Right. And this is a photograph of what you gave me, Mr. Weinstein.
That is the bed, yes.
After he removed things. Okay.
Most annoying person. But this, Mr. Weinstein, is a picture of the room because I've compared it to where the nightstand is and I've compared it to where the chest of drawers is. This is a picture of the room. Absolutely.
And Your Honor?
I didn't ask you anything.
That is her picture of the room, yes.
I don't care. That's a photograph. That's not a painting.
That's correct.
That's a photograph of the room. That doesn't look terrible to me. Your picture looks terrible with your luggage and your duffel bag.
It wasn't my duffel bag. It was on the floor when we walked in.
Absolutely not true.
I don't travel with a duffel bag.
Absolutely not true.
I came from New Jersey.
That's absolutely not true.
There was
we
a
would
duffel
not leave
bag in the room.
Bag.
Also, Judge,
They actually deserve each other. And do you know what happens to people that deserve each other?
I know. Yeah. I know.
Last and final warning.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Listen to me very carefully. I would love to rule against you because you are one of the most annoying people that I've had to deal with all day today.
And later today,
Most 19-year-old boys could live inside a closet that contained nothing but dirty socks. Very rarely do they care about whether they have 1 or 2 bathrooms. They can actually go on a tree.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Craig Weinstein says Ellen Schneiderman misrepresented her Beverly Hills vacation rental.
Last and final warning.
Yes.
And then you're gone because I really don't feel sorry for you. I would feel sorry for you if I actually thought you went into a hovel. You did not. And even if there was a duffel bag here, it wouldn't be so terrible. This looks like a lovely room. And it looks like a lovely courtyard. And it looks probably small. For $200 a night in Beverly Hills, that's what you get. You're also getting a pool. I don't feel so sorry for you. She gave you back money. She gave you back a lot of money. I yelled at her. She's annoying. Is this a picture of the bathroom that you got to use?
Oh, I thought you were asking me. I'm sorry.
Is this a picture of the bathroom that was in your room?
Yes, the only bathroom.
I don't care if it's the only bathroom. She said it was the only bathroom in the ad. The ad says that there is one bathroom. The ad says that you can use another bathroom outside that's in the pool area. Put your hand down. That you can use another bathroom, that the person who lives in the main house will not use it during the course of your stay. That's what it says in the ad. I read it. It never said that you had a room with 2 bathrooms. No. Okay, and this was your bathroom.
Yes.
Is that right? Is that right?
Yes.
You don't get any money back. It's very nice that she gave you that much back.
Judge, the picture of the closet that she gave you had a refrigerator in it. The picture of the drawers had pillows and blankets in it. My wife couldn't get out of the bed on her side. She had to come over to my side. The picture that you showed me that Ellen provided, the door was open, so it appears to be bigger. Anyone can take a picture. If you look at the
I have 80 reviews, 5-star reviews.
Listen to me very carefully. I would love to rule against you because you are one of the most annoying people that I've had to deal with all day today. I find it difficult because for $200 at Beverly Hills, I think he got a reasonable accommodation. If he didn't like it, he was returned most of his money. You didn't have enough time to re-rent it for the next 6 nights. And I'm not awarding any money, Mr. Weinstein. We are done. We are finished.
I know, but we had an agreement, Judge. She didn't give me all my money back. At least, what's the idea of having...
That's why you came.
Yeah, but why did we have an agreement? The room was a converted pantry.
He absolutely lied about that.
And my wife said, I can't even stay here one night.
But he also wanted the difference of some hotel he said he stayed in, and yet provided no proof whatsoever of that hotel.
Ironically, she's no longer on the website because I think she's come to her senses.
And I never really did it for the money.
You can't rent out a pantry closet.
I was nice to give him 4 of his 6 nights back.
It was police officers.
2 exes under one roof adds up to trouble.
The officer said, well, she said, you kicked her. I said, I didn't kick her. I didn't get close to her.
I would like to see the video that you took.
And these parents are reminded why they split.
I don't hear any kicking.
He's been abusing me for years, and he always gets away with it. Last time I moved, he called the police saying that I kidnapped him.
That's a lie.
Judge Judy.
You are about to enter the courtroom of Judge Judith Scheindlin. This is Judge Judy.
Christopher Duran is suing the mother of his 4 children, Maribel Reyes, for bail money after she had him falsely arrested for assault.
Order. All rise. Judge, this is case number 406 on the calendar in the matter of Duran versus Reyes.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Mr. Duran, your claim against the defendant is that she had you falsely arrested for assault.
Yes.
I'm going to start with you, Miss Reyes. You and Mr. Duran, according to the complaint and the answer that I've read, have children together.
Correct.
You've never been married to each other.
No.
How many children do you have?
Out of 8 children, I have 4 with him.
So you have 8 children. What
Correct.
are their ages?
It goes from 30 all the way to 15.
And how old are the children that you have with Mr. Duran?
21, 19, 16, and 15.
And when was the last time that you and Mr. Duran lived together?
It was like about 10 years.
Now, Mr. Duran has some sort of a residence. Is this a multi-apartment complex, or is it a house that has several apartments? What is it, sir?
Yes, it's a house. It has an upper, lower level, and a rear unit.
Where do you live?
I live in downstairs, the lower level.
And Miss Reyes, where do you live?
Upstairs.
You also have tenants in that house.
Yes.
Where do they live?
In the rear portion of the unit.
How long have you had that tenant?
A year.
Does that tenant pay rent?
Yes.
How much?
$900 a month.
And how much money does Miss Reyes pay for rent?
She doesn't pay.
How long has she been living there?
She's been there for about 6-7 years.
Is that correct so far? You've been living in the house for 6 or 7 years.
I don't remember moving at all. I've been living there since...
For how long?
22 years.
Okay, so you've been living there 22 years.
Yes.
First with your 4 children.
Yes.
That he had nothing to do with.
Yes.
And then you had 4 children with him.
Yes, in that house.
When was the last time you and Mr. Duran lived together as a couple?
7 or 8 years ago. Yes.
Okay. And is it correct, Miss Reyes, that you have not paid rent in the last 7 years?
That's correct.
So he lets you live there rent-free, you and your children. That's either a yes or a no.
I don't think I have the obligation to be paying rent when the house is being cut up in 4 sections. And it's,
But you have to pay rent someplace. You and your 8 children have to pay rent someplace.
I do understand that, ma'am.
All I'm asking you is a simple question. I'm trying to set the parameters of this case and to see whether he's a bad guy, whether he's a good guy, because what he's suing you for is having him falsely arrested and having him put in jail where he spent overnight and had to post bail. I'm trying to find out who you both are. So it would be a fair statement that Mr. Duran let you live in his house for 7 years and you paid no rent. That's either a yes or a no.
It's my house, ma'am.
Is it in your name?
No, but it's
then it's not your house. Do you work?
Yes, I do, ma'am.
For whom?
I'm a customer service for entertainment. Well, sports.
Do you work outside of the home or do you work from a phone inside the home?
I go to work.
What time do you go to work?
I have to be there at 5, so I leave at 4 or sometimes
5 in the morning or 5 at night?
Afternoon. And sometimes I take a second job that it makes me come home at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning.
Just tell me, how many days a week?
That would be probably...
And I want to know the name of the company that you work for. I'm not finished yet. The name of the company that you work for.
I cannot address that, the company's name.
Why? Is it an illegal company?
It's just a sports event.
No, that's not an answer. If I ask a question, unless you're dealing in some sort of illicit thing, I want to know who you work for.
I did ask my company if I'm allowed to address it, and they said no.
I don't care what they said. I'm asking you who you work for. I want to be able to verify that you leave for work at 5 p.m. and come home at midnight.
Well, I work for that.
In which office?
In Los Angeles.
Okay. And do you have an annual salary?
Yes.
Yeah. Miss Reyes, just answer my question. You have an annual salary? You're paid by hour? How are you paid?
I get paid by hour.
How much an hour?
It will be $14.50.
Okay. And how long have you worked for this company at an hourly wage? How many?
11 years and a half.
And what's your average weekly paycheck?
It will be like $300.
And what kind of work do you do, Mr. Duran?
I just recently became a driver.
As a driver for whom?
ABM.
And what is your weekly take-home pay?
About $700 a week.
When did you purchase this house that you live in?
In 1996, in June.
Did you know Miss Reyes at the time?
Yes.
But you had no children together?
Correct.
Were you living together at the time?
No.
She was living in her own independent residence?
Yes.
When you purchased this house?
Yes.
So it was much later that she moved in?
Yes.
Is that correct?
That's wrong.
Now, you're supposed to, Miss Reyes, if I'm reading this correctly.
Yes.
There's a parking space for you to park your car in front of the house.
Correct.
And the driveway of the house is reserved for the tenant who lives in the back.
Yes.
In this place that you live at rent-free.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. By the way, who pays the gas, electric, heat, for the whole house.
I pay for everything, Your Honor.
Is that correct, Ms. Reyes? What do you pay for?
I pay for the food.
No, whose food?
My kids' food.
Just a second. You pay for your children's food.
Doctors. For the doctor
what
visits.
Else?
I pay for their education, laptops.
What education?
They go to Santa Monica High School.
Well, Santa Monica High School is free.
I understand, but sometimes they ask for...
Let's move on.
Like my daughter's taking photographing, like pictures. I have to buy supplies. Okay. I pay for the grand nights.
So Mr. Duran takes care of all the household bills with the exception of food for you and your children?
Correct.
Okay. Not a bad deal.
That's what I think.
Not a bad deal. Now, you're not supposed to park in the driveway. So now we're going to move to an incident that happened on December 18th.
Correct.
On December 18th, Mr. Duran received a phone call from a tenant because you were parked in the driveway.
Correct.
Correct. And were you inside the car or outside the car?
I was inside the car, ma'am.
At all times on December 18th? Okay. How long had you been sitting in the driveway, Mr. Duran?
About 15 minutes.
Ms. Reyes, what were you doing in the car for 15 minutes?
I just came from school and I was just taking a little time out because I know if I go inside, I start looking at other stuff, start cleaning, start fixing or doing something else instead of studying. So that was like a little time out for me to study.
Who was inside?
Nobody was inside.
So you stayed in the car rather than to go inside and study, and there was nobody else in the house?
Yeah, but I just start cleaning up. That's just a habit of mine. Start like
all right, so now you're sitting in the driveway.
Yes.
And you start to tell me what happened, so I'm going to believe it. You're sitting in the driveway studying.
Yes.
You don't want to go in an empty house where you'll get distracted by straightening up.
Correct.
And you're sitting in the driveway. Take it from there.
I was sitting in my driveway. I was studying. It was already 15 minutes when I heard a car just pulled up behind me. The whole entire driveway, from all the way to the back, all the way to the front, to the side, every corner, it was empty. So I figured, let me stay here since I'm going to pick up my kids in 20 or 30 minutes from the train station.
Just a second. So the tenant pulled up behind you?
Yes.
And you're not supposed to be in the driveway?
Well, anybody could be in the driveway.
You're not supposed to be in the driveway, so the tenant pulled up behind you. And what happened next?
Next thing, I seen that he was carrying some ropes or something.
The tenant got out of his car or truck?
Yes,
car. And he was carrying some ropes?
Yes. And as he was walking by, I told him, I didn't get off my car. I just asked him through my window, excuse me, do you want me to move? Because I should be picking up my kids in a couple of minutes. And he just didn't say a word, just kept on walking, ignored me, like he didn't hurt me or I don't know. He couldn't hear. I don't know what was his problem. So he passed again, I guess to pick up something else from the vehicle. And this time I opened my whole entire door. I mean, he had to move my door for him to be able to go through it, so he could keep on walking towards the back. So I opened the whole door and I blocked him and I said, excuse me, do you want me to move? Because it's no problem.
Was he blocking you?
He was
blocking you.
Yeah, because he was
just
blocking.
A second. So this whole driveway where nobody else is parked and everything else is clear, he was blocking you from getting out.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Now we're getting it straight. So now you want me to understand that you opened the door and what you said to him was politely, would you like me to move?
Yes.
Not, would you move your car so I can get out? You said, would you like me to move? I want to know what you want me to believe.
Well,
what you want this face to believe.
Yeah, well, the reason I said that, because I figure since he's coming in and out, I figure he's going to leave. And, well, I mean, I had only 10 more minutes. By the time I had to go pick up my kids, it's not a big deal. But in case he was really finished for the rest of the day, I don't mind. I could go and leave already. But he kept on ignoring me, so he grabbed my door, he moved it, and he still passed through. And I said, okay, fine. I said, you know what? Let me get out of here. And he said, I will be outside in a minute. That minute took pretty long time. It took more 15 minutes.
So let me understand this. He was moving things from his truck to his property.
Only
to
twice.
His house. He was moving things, ropes and some other things that he was taking from his car. And because your car was parked closer to where he had to go further in order to get the stuff from his car into his house.
Correct.
Correct. So now you say I got it.
That was it.
You know, at my age, all you have to do is create the picture.
Correct.
I understand exactly what was going on. So does everybody else now.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He said to me, it better be the first and the last time you ever park in this driveway.
You know, I don't believe that. You're making it up as you're moving along. They don't keep me here because I'm gorgeous. They keep me here because I'm smart.
It's Value City NJ's big...
He says the mother of his children, Maribel Reyes, had him falsely arrested for kicking her.
Now, so you were making him go around you, because you're not supposed to be in the driveway, with stuff that he was carrying, and then when you said, move your car, I want to get out, he said, you'll have to wait, because I'm going in the back. And he took a long time to come out, so he made you wait. Mm-hmm. Right, got it.
Well, he made me wait.
What?
And he said to me, it better be the first and the last time you ever park in this driveway.
You know, I don't believe, you know something? I don't believe that.
Okay.
Because you didn't write it in your answer. You're making it up as you're moving along. Okay? So they don't keep me here because I'm gorgeous and young. They keep me here because I'm smart. Because I have a life's history. Because I know this situation and I got to know who the two of you are, actually. So the tenant went inside and called the landlord, right? And you came over.
Yes.
Now I want you to tell me, now I'm shifting over to you. I want you to tell me exactly what happened when you came home.
As soon as I got there, I got my cell phone out and I started recording. As soon as I stepped out the car, she was on the phone talking. I said, you know, why are you parking here? And I was about maybe 10 feet from her. She didn't say anything, and I looked and I said, you can't park here. Why are you parking here? You're gonna have to park in the street. And I heard her on the phone calling the police saying that we're blocking her in, that she can't get out. And I said, you're making a false report. I moved out the car, and Jose was parked behind her. He moved out, and she left. I didn't hear anything for about 4 or 5 hours. 10 o'clock came around in the evening. There was banging on my door. It was police officers. And the police officers came in and said, oh, well, we're here because you had an argument with Maribel or something happened. I said, I didn't argue with her. I said, she had a problem yelling at the tenants. I showed them the video. I said, look, I have the video. And I wasn't the one arguing with her or having anything to do with her. And then the officer said, well, she said you kicked her. I said, I didn't kick her. I didn't get close to her. I said,
I want you to tell me when he kicked you.
He kicked me when he brought Jose from the back. And then he told them, you know, I guess I want you to move your car. I seen Jose going back. And when he went back, that's when he kicked me right here on the left side.
Did he kick you with which foot?
With his foot, with his right hip. His right
just
leg.
A second. He kicked you with his right leg. Show me where on your leg that he kicked you.
He kicked me right here. I had
on your thigh?
Yes.
Just a second.
Okay.
Did you say anything to him when he kicked you?
I said...
That's either yes or no.
Yes.
What
yes,
did you say? What did you say to him when he kicked you?
I said, this is stupid what you just did to me. And I just
so
went
you said,
in.
this is stupid.
What you just did to me. And I went straight to my vehicle and sat down in there until Mr. Jose came out like 2 or 3 minutes later, got in his car. Christopher Duran went to his vehicle, got in his car. Everybody moved. I left to the police station.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So you moved back in 2012?
Yes, he forced me to.
Nobody forces you to do anything. I know you 5 minutes, and I know nobody forces you to do anything.
Real people. Judge Judy.
Christopher Duran says the mother of his children, Maribel Reyes, falsely accused him of assaulting her.
Has there ever been a time when you, other than December 18th of 2018, filed a police report against Mr. Duran?
Yes.
When?
It was in 2010, 2011.
2010 and 2011.
And another incident that it took, the most horrible incident ever. It took place on 2011 of May.
Just a second.
But I did a police report, but
no, I don't want to know
critical.
about it. I asked you if you filed a police report, and you say you did in 2010.
Yes.
Did you also file one in 2011?
Correct.
Were you ever granted a restraining order against Mr.
Yes,
Duran?
I had
just a second.
order.
When? In what year?
In 2011.
In 2011, you and Mr. Duran were living in the same house?
No, my kids were taken in custody in foster home, and he's not supposed to be living in that house, and I'm not supposed to be living in the house. In the meanwhile, somebody else is taking care of all our young children.
Are you telling me that in 2011 you did not have custody of your children? Is that my... Maybe I'll make it easier for you.
Okay, they were taken away from both of us.
Okay, good. And you've been living in Mr. Duran's house since 2011, according to you.
I wasn't living there.
Oh, I thought you said
only
you were just a
that year.
second. So you moved back in 2012.
Yes, he forced me to.
Nobody forces you to do anything, Miss Reyes. I know you 5 minutes, and I know nobody forces you to do anything.
He tries his best to trying to
I think that you should get a second job and go pay rent someplace so that you don't have to live in his house.
I don't think that's the right, since I take care of my kids.
Just a second. It's not your house. It's his house.
It's
now,
my house.
I would like to see the video that you took. I just want to hear whether I hear anybody screaming because they were kicked. What kind of car do you drive?
A Honda 2008 Element Black.
You can record. You cannot park in here for no more.
I don't hear any kicking.
Following the rules. You don't pay anything here.
I don't hear any kicking.
Well, he did.
I don't hear any kicking. I don't hear any screaming. I don't hear any... What happened? What did you do? Why did you do that? I don't hear any of that. I hear the car going away.
Yeah, but I came back.
Just a second. You mean you drove away and then came back?
Yes.
And is that when he kicked you?
Yes.
That's not what you told me a moment ago.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Closed captioning sponsored by...
The victim of an assault? Go to judgejudy.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Now, what you told me a moment ago was that when Mr. Jose went in the back and wasn't there, that's when he kicked you. That's what you told me 5 minutes ago.
No, that guy was still there.
That's what you just told me. I saw your car pull away. Listen to me. Pull away is now what you're telling me is your car pulled away and then you came back and then he kicked you. Because I didn't hear any kicking on here. Do you know what I'm saying to you?
I know what you're saying.
Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
He's been abusing me for years. And he always gets away with it.
Move!
I wish I could
find a place to move with your children and go away from him.
We have 50-50. Last time I moved, he called the police saying that I kidnapped him. He does anything for me.
That's a lie.
You know.
How much bail did you have to post, sir?
It was a $50,000 bond, and I had to pay 10% of that, was $5,000.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. We're done.
Parties are step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
When you haven't paid the mortgage in 5 months, your house is going to be foreclosed.
Someone should have told his new roommate.
You were using our money to get the house out of foreclosure. Outrageous.
Judge Judy.
I think it was a great verdict.
I don't think it's fair.
I should have never been arrested.
I had a bruise. They took pictures, and they even measured the size of the bruise.
To get back at me, that's why she made the false report.
I'm the type of person I just don't cause problems.
I feel she's a big bully.
If it's a problem, I'll just walk away from that association for me not to get involved.
She wants to get her way, whatever it is, from anybody, and she'll do anything to get it.
In 2 years, I will have him all over 18. He can control nobody no more.
Welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Have a seat.
Ms. Wilcoxon, your complaint is that the defendant, who was a tenant of yours,
yes, ma'am,
owes you for rent and had you falsely arrested. You had to hire an attorney. You want her to be responsible for those attorney's fees since that action was ultimately dismissed.
Yes, ma'am.
The defendant says, but most importantly, she says that the apartment that you were renting to her was illegal.
No, ma'am, it was not.
Okay, so let's find that out. Let's first deal with the issue of rent. When did you become Miss Wilcoxon's roommate?
This would have been at the end of December, Your Honor.
2012?
That's correct, Your Honor.
And how did you find this apartment?
I found this on Craigslist under roommates, Your Honor.
You went to look at the place?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
In December. And what kind of place was it?
It was a two-story townhome, Your Honor. The place that was going to be for rent was in the lower portion, the basement portion of the property.
It wasn't the first level, it was the basement?
Correct, Your Honor.
Miss Wilcoxon lived in the upper 2 stories?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Describe the basement.
The basement had a bedroom, another big room that would be possibly the living room. And then off of that, there was a laundry room, kind of storage room.
Where was the kitchen?
There was no kitchen. We were going to be sharing the kitchen, and we had to share the bathroom that was on the upper level of the house.
So there was only one bathroom?
One full bathroom that had a bathtub. There was a half bath that was on the middle level.
But you had no bathroom in the place that you were renting?
Correct, on the lower level.
So that it really wasn't an apartment. You were really a roommate?
Correct, Your Honor.
Well, if you were really a roommate, then unless her lease proscribes having a roommate, does it?
No, my lease says that I can sublet. I actually have written proof.
Well, subletting is different from having a roommate. Can I see your lease?
Yeah. My lease is actually from a previous owner and is grandfathered over to the new owners.
Just a second. Well, I don't know that. That's something that you're telling me. Is this the last lease that you have?
Yes, ma'am. And now it's a drop down to month.
Right, of course.
Right.
That I understand. With the same terms.
Right, same terms.
Same terms.
And then I have a police report stating that...
Who's Nicole?
That's my sister that was living with me at the time.
This lease precludes you from having her in the house.
According to the landlord that we have now...
No, not according to the landlord. I'm just telling you what you told me, and I'm just reading this. You said these are the terms and conditions. I'm listening to what you tell me.
Right.
Don't speak. It says these are the people who were living there. Tuesday Wilcoxon and Nicole, neither of whom are the defendant. Clause 1. Clause 3 says the premises are to be used only as a private residence for the tenants listed in Clause 1 of this agreement. That's what it says.
Yes, ma'am.
You told me that this is...
I'm sorry,
these
I
were the
misinformed you, but I do have a police report stating that the current landlord is okay with me subletting.
This is not a sublet. A sublet is when you move out and sublet the apartment and someone else, in effect, takes over your lease. Although you may be ultimately responsible for it, you're allowed to have somebody else move in. That's not what you did. You took in another tenant.
Correct.
And that's precluded here. So, how long did you live there?
Your Honor, I was only there until...
how long did you live there?
Your Honor, about a month and a half.
Okay. And what was the rent you were supposed to be paying her?
I was supposed to be paying $650 a month, Your Honor, and that was to include my utilities.
Great. And if you lived there a month and a half, then you would have paid her 2 months' rent.
No, Your Honor, because in February...
You moved in January. January what? Or did you move in December?
I do have a lease here, Your Honor.
Oh, I'd like to take a look at it.
It shows starting in December 15th.
Fine.
And it also shows my rent.
December 15th. So on December 15th, you had to pay her $650.
No, it was prorated from the 15th to the end of the month.
Pay her.
It is on the lease on the second page. And that was what she agreed upon.
Who's Paige?
Paige is my oldest daughter.
Who's Dustin?
My middle son.
And Peyton?
My youngest daughter.
So all those people are allowed to be here because the landlord initially said that you and the children, I think. Yes, they're minor children. How old is Paige?
Paige is 12.
And Dustin?
10.
And Peyton?
2.
All minor children?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. So the only one who's not supposed to be there is her?
No, Your Honor. I also had a daughter.
And your daughter?
And she's on the lease.
Okay. Now, you're supposed to pay $475 rent plus $75 for utilities. Total of $650 per month per roommate. All right, well, so half a month's rent is $325, which if you moved in on December 15th, and let's say you paid just half the month's rent, that's $325. You have proof that you paid that?
No, I do not have that with me, Your Honor. I'm sorry.
Well, where'd you think you were coming today?
I apologize. The receipt book came up missing during all of this going on at this house.
Did she pay you for December?
Yes, ma'am, she did.
How much?
$231. It was prorated from the 20th of December on.
Okay. So December, you acknowledge, is clean.
Yes, ma'am.
January, did you pay her?
Yes, I did,
How
Your
much?
Honor. Everything except the very last $200.
How much did you pay her?
$450, Your Honor.
Okay, so you owed her $200 for January.
That's correct.
And what about February?
February, I did not pay. That was when this was all going on.
On what date in February was this all going on?
Started February 1st.
Yes, Your Honor. It started February 1st, but the actual eviction would have taken place around February the 15th.
All right, so you owed her for February's rent, which you didn't pay.
Correct, Your Honor.
And you still owed her for January's rent, $200.
Correct, Your Honor.
Right. So she evicts you.
There was more to it, Your Honor. She was refusing to take rent. I do have a video that I would like to introduce.
I read your answer. Your answer says that you offered her the last $200 of February's rent. Well, that's not true. According to you, you hadn't paid the $200 for January.
That would be January's rent, Your Honor.
Right. So that's wrong in your answer, because your answer says, I tried to pay her the $200 for February. It wasn't February's rent. It was January's rent.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay. So you didn't pay her January, and you didn't pay her in February. She said, I want you out. Things hadn't been working out anyway. Now I want you to tell me why you had her arrested.
Your Honor, I have pictures here.
No, I don't want to see
and
the
I have
pictures.
a police
Did you hear what I
statement.
said? I would like you to tell me why and when you had her arrested.
We had seen aggressive behavior out of
Not we.
the plaintiff, my daughter and myself.
I don't want you to tell me what your daughter saw.
Okay.
Just you.
The behavior was getting more and more aggressive, Your Honor. It started with her 2-year-old daughter. I witnessed a very, very horrible thing happen as I was coming out of the upstairs bathroom, starting down the stairs. She had been out drinking the night before. She was laying on the couch. The baby approached her. She turned around. She swung. She hit the baby. The baby hit the table. Instead of picking the baby up, which I thought she was going to do because she reached for her, she held her hand over her mouth to keep her from screaming. My daughter, who had been babysitting the 2-year-old, had brought to me that the baby had bruises. At first, I tried to just put them off as just being bruises that a child falling at 2. Finally, after seeing this incident and some other incidents, I decided that this was something that needed to be reported. I knew at that time that was going to probably cost us our place to live. And financially, at that point, we weren't at a point that we could really do that. I did do that. I made the police report. From that point on, Your Honor, it went downhill.
On what date did you make the police report?
Would have been, I'm sorry, Your Honor, give me just 1 second here. It's on this paper here. The very first incident would have been around the 20th of January.
I'd like to see the police report. Who are you?
Now, this is the police
I am
report.
Tuesday's sister.
You're her sister?
Yes.
You live there?
I do currently, yes.
Where?
In the basement where Peggy used to be.
When did you move in? Stand. Oh.
I moved in March 20th.
Where had you been living before that?
I was living there before Peggy moved in. I moved out with my boyfriend until March, and then I moved back into...
With or without the boyfriend?
Without.
Without. Your sister drink? Yep. Be very careful what you say to me. Very, very careful what you say to me. Does your sister drink?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Tuesday, Wilcoxon says former roommate Peggy Munoz owes for rent, property damages, and for attorney fees after she was served with a restraining order. Peggy claims Tuesday is irrational and violent.
Now, be very careful what you say to me. Does your sister drink?
Yes. On occasion.
Shut up. I got it. It was a hard thing to say. I just needed an answer. When the defendant tells me that she made a phone call to report an incident which she believed was abusive conduct towards a 2-year-old because your sister had been out drinking the night before. The night before is what you said. Is that right, Ms. Munoz?
Yes, that's correct, Your Honor.
It wouldn't surprise you that your sister had been out drinking the night before. Got it. Sit. Sit. Have you ever had any proceedings with whatever social service agency governs your jurisdiction?
Besides this one, correct?
Yes.
No.
I want you to tell me, please, Ms. Munoz, about this incident that brought the police out and that caused the bruises to your arms.
Yes, Your Honor. This was escalating and escalating and escalating. She was getting more verbally and physically abusive to not only me, but my 16-year-old daughter who was living at the house. Because I work evenings at a restaurant, I was
Just
gone a lot.
tell me what happened.
I put a lock on the door to prevent her from entering the basement portion of it during the time that I was not there.
Okay.
I told her at any time she could reach me by phone if there was an emergency, and we would be happy to let her down there. She came to the house with the new landlord. She came to the house with a furnace person because she had put a box on the thermostat preventing anyone from getting any heat in the lower level of the house now. She came with them because now the heat wasn't working in her portion of the house and wanted to get downstairs. I, at that point, had came back from making a report with the police of this escalating problem. I was willing to let the furnace person go downstairs and the landlord if he needed to go downstairs, but I did not want her downstairs because of the verbal and the physical abuse, Your Honor. I came to the house. They're all at the house. There's virtually 5 people at the house at this point. Some of her family is there, too. I told them the police were on their way because I had my daughter call the police and stay in the car for her own safety. I said, the police are on their way. Let's wait till the police get here. They said that's considered a fire hazard. Your Honor, I'd like to give you a letter.
Don't tell me. Don't give me a letter.
I had contacted the fire marshal.
Nope.
It was not illegal. I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Don't digress. Don't go off on a tributary. Just stay right in that river.
Okay.
I
told them the police
are on the way. And
she wanted her father to break down the door. He was a little hesitant of wanting to do this. She grabbed a hammer and she began breaking the door. She broke the new lock that I just put on the door. She put holes in the door. I do have pictures of that.
I'd like to see
also.
it.
At which time the door was totally broken. I attempted to stand in front of it and prevent her from going downstairs into my area where I live. And her father got in the way of that, started kind of moving me out of the way. Eventually, I said, no, you guys are not going down there until the police get here. We will discuss this when the police get here. They wouldn't wait. It ended with her father and her grabbing me and taking me out of the house physically, where my daughter was sitting in the car out there.
When you say they took you out of the house physically, how physically did they take you out of the house?
By my arms, Your Honor. Pulling away, pulling back.
Let's hear. Because I read your complaint clearly. I want you to tell me about that date. That was February 11th. 2013.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
I had gotten a phone call from my landlord that morning stating that it was not okay to have the lock on the basement door. It was preventing me access and anybody else access to the furnace.
You can't tell me what the landlord told you, so I'm eliminating
I have
that.
a letter.
That's hearsay. I don't read letters. I want you to just tell me what you did.
Okay, so I went over to my parents' house, grabbed my dad, grabbed his sledgehammer. My landlord said to use whatever means necessary.
Don't tell me what your landlord... Listen to me. Listen to me. Hey.
Yes, ma'am.
What part of don't tell me what your landlord told you, because I don't believe it anyway, because it's hearsay and it's inadmissible.
But I have a letter
Do you
signed by
understand?
him.
Take the letter, fold it up, do whatever you want to do with it. I don't read letters.
Yes, ma'am.
Just tell me what you did. You got a sledgehammer from your father's house, and you went over to your house with your father.
With my stepfather, yes.
With your stepfather. And just tell me what you did.
I was hearing Peggy argue, so I swept in and grabbed the sledgehammer and hit the doorknob.
Just a second. You got into an argument with her.
No, I did not.
You did not. Who did?
Her and my stepdad and the landlord.
Fine. Did she say to you, I've called the police? It's in the police report.
Not until after I hit the door did she call. She didn't call them before I hit the door. She called them after I hit the door.
How did you get to the door?
She was arguing with the landlord and my stepfather.
And
they were in the kitchen, so I grabbed the sledgehammer and hit the door, hit the panel out of the bottom so that I could unlock the door to remove the doorknob, to install the old one that used to be on there.
You got a bad temper, madam. You got a real bad temper. You know what your bad temper is going to cost you? $850. I believe every word she says. I believe every word she says with regard to what she saw with your 2-year-old. Every word she said. And you know
Ma'am,
how I know?
have police reports saying they're unfounded.
Listen to me. I don't care.
Because they came and talked to the kids and saw the kids.
Listen to me. Quietly. Listen to me. I believe every word she says about the report she made on January 28th. And you know why I believe her? Because of her.
Yes, if you read in that report, Your Honor, there were previous attempts. The very first time that I went to the police department was the date that I went about the child. None of this started until that date.
Yeah, she made it before.
It says 2-2.
Well, this happened on the 11th.
Yes, ma'am, and I filed for everything on the 1st.
Listen to me.
Everything happened after I filed for eviction. This was to get me back for evicting her.
Eviction doesn't mean sledgehammer.
Or false accusing me of child abuse, or trying to get me filed for my work, or false harassment charges, or a false restraining order.
Listen to me. Is this your sister?
Yes, ma'am.
She says you drink too much.
No, she says I've had a drink.
No, that's
I'm not drunk.
No, listen to me. She said you drink.
I've had well, because you can't say no without saying that I've had a drink or two.
No, that's not what she's saying.
That is exactly what she was saying, because that's exactly what you were asking her. You're twisting her words.
I said, does your sister drink?
Not if she's a drunk or if she drinks heavily. I have a beer now and again, just like everybody else.
I'm just telling you, you're living in that house now?
Yes.
You work?
Yes, I do.
You better make sure everything is okay in that house. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Real good. Case is dismissed. That's all.
Sorry, excuse me. Step out.
It started with the day that I told the judge that I saw the baby get hit and fall into the glass table. That day was when I made the decision to go to the police.
I don't abuse my child, and I'm not a drunk.
I'm just hoping that Miss Wilcoxon's ex-husband will take a look at this and get that 2-year-old out of there before she does end up getting hurt seriously.
She knows how to press people's buttons to them off.
The same, abuse that you heard in the courtroom was the abuse that I had on a daily basis and had to worry about my child.
She moved out and trashed my basement.
I cleaned up the basement after Peggy moved out, and it was just horrible.
Nobody should ever rent to this woman, ever.
It's just horrible. It was the living hell of my sister living with her.
That was not a safe place where I would want to stay one day later.
Do background checks, get references. I did not do that. I was so desperate for a roommate.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Saya versus Herndon step forward.
Peter Saya is suing 20-year-old Damian Herndon for medical bills after he punched him in the face during a pickup basketball game.
Mr. Saya, it is your claim that the defendant assaulted you at a basketball game.
That's correct, Your Honor.
The defendant says that he is really defending himself. He says that you are, and I'm quoting him, about to physically harm me. So in defense, I threw a punch because he had already warned you to leave him alone. So I'm going to start with you, Mr. Herndon. You had never seen the plaintiff before this game, is that right?
No, Your Honor.
Is this a game that either of you play regularly?
Your Honor, I'm a student at the university Front Center belongs to, and I do play there often on Saturday afternoons, like the one in question.
Do you have a regular team?
No, this was just a pickup game.
Now, can you tell me what a pickup game is?
It was just a group of people informally playing basketball. It wasn't organized. There wasn't referees or anything of that sort.
Okay. So what I want you to do, Mr. Herndon, I'm going to start with you. I assume that Mr. Say is going to be able to prove to me that he was, in fact, assaulted and injured. Your jaw was broken?
My jaw was dislocated.
So that's a pretty serious injury. So what I'd like you to do, since you were not injured, and he clearly did not put his hands on you, according to you, because I read your answer, I want you to tell me what happened, sir, that caused you to hit him.
Well, Your Honor, like you said, it was a pickup game. I felt threatened. The whole game, it was too much defense. It was over-aggressive, and I felt...
You know, I'm really not a big sports aficionado. I don't understand a lot of sports. But I know that when they play basketball, they sort of go, right? Back and forth, you're guarding, you guard different people, you try to prevent them from getting a basket.
Yes, Your Honor.
Right, that's what you do. So you felt as if the whole game was aggressive, or he was aggressive?
He was aggressive. It was just too pushy, too much extra. I understand.
Why didn't you leave if you felt as if he was being aggressive?
At first, it wasn't nothing serious. It was just a pickup game. I came up there with my older brother. It was just a nice, fun game. And then
okay, but then you felt that he was too aggressive. So,
yes.
You never can tell, Mr. Herndon, what kind of nuts are out there in the street, right?
Correct.
So if you felt as if he was too aggressive, my question is, why didn't you leave? I mean, it's not a game that you were playing for money. If you left, you would have lost your money. If I were playing with a nut, I would have left. So tell me what happened after he was being a little too aggressive. Tell me what you did or said to him.
I warned him. I said, could you please, can we calm down? Like, it's not that serious. It's just a pickup game. It's a simple 5-on-5. Once this is done, it's over. We're not playing for any money. It's nothing serious, so there's no need to be...
Is that what you said to him, or is that what you were thinking?
I said it to him, Your Honor.
Just that way?
No, I don't...
No, I want you to tell me exactly what you said to him. I'm a big girl. I've heard everything.
I asked him to keep his hands off of me.
Not I asked him to keep his hands off, because there are lots of different ways to say that. I want you to tell me what you said.
Chill out. This is just a game. No need to be over-aggressive.
Go ahead. And he did
And he continued to be the way that he was. Then I said to him, if you continue, I feel threatened, I'm going to have to do something about it. And he continued to keep going. So I was just like, I felt threatened, and I reacted.
And you punched him?
But I felt threatened, Your Honor. It was a threat. He was over-aggressive. It wasn't that I just...
Can I see your medical bills, please?
Sure.
Mr. Herndon,
these are the bills.
there are all kinds of ways to respond.
Emergency room.
Who is this lady?
My girlfriend, Your Honor.
Okay. There are all kinds of ways to respond to somebody who's threatening you, who hasn't harmed you, but who you feel is aggressive, or you feel threatened by. If I felt threatened by somebody, is your brother older or younger?
Older, Your Honor.
I would say to my older brother, let's get out of here. I don't know who this nut is, but clearly he doesn't know that this is just a game. Or you can stay in it. And if he continues to be what you consider aggressive, because that's a balancing act, whether it's aggressive or just rough play or something that he would be sidelined for, you know, and say, you sit down because you touched in the wrong... Is that what they do, sideline you?
They call it foul.
Foul.
You take a foul.
Foul. So they say, no, you fouled, you have to go and sit outside. I don't know, that's a judgment that usually a referee makes. Felt as if you were being fouled. Is that the correct term? And he continued to do that. Your response isn't to punch him. That's ridiculous. I know you think that that's okay, but that's ridiculous. Yeah. Your response is to leave.
Your Honor, he kept getting in my face, my personal space. That's why.
That's what they do in basketball, Mr. Herndon.
When you talk trash to someone in their personal space, that's a difference, Your Honor.
Just a second. Tell me what he said to you.
He said I wasn't as good as them. He's going to get me out of the court because I'm not good enough. I'm playing with the big dogs, this, that, and that. I'm like, it's just a game.
Just a second. That's your definition of trash talking, that you weren't as good a player as he is?
But his ego got into the way of that game, Your Honor. It was no call for all that was unnecessary. I'm not saying nothing to you.
Just a second, Mr. Herndon. I don't necessarily think that you're wrong in your evaluation of it's not necessary. It's not the way to play a game. What are you getting so excited about? You're playing for blood. That's ridiculous. All of those things I absolutely agree with. Your response to that can't be to punch him in the jaw. That's all I'm saying to you. I agree with you. He may be a very bad sport. Are you an only child?
No.
There goes my theory. And maybe he's not a good sport. Who knows? Maybe that's the way he was trying to throw you off your game. Maybe that's what he thinks you're supposed to do, to throw somebody off their game. All of that doesn't sit well for him if I were evaluating his character. But that doesn't give you the right to punch him in the jaw. You had misguided concept of what you were allowed to do in order to stay in the game. Now, once you punched him in the jaw, was the game over?
As soon as I hit him, he called for the recreation staff to get me kicked out of the gym.
And that's what happened?
Yes, Your Honor, and my brother took me out. We left.
Okay. Now, Mr. Say, did you report this to the police?
I did, Your Honor.
Do you have the police report?
I do.
I'd like to take a look at it. Did you pursue this matter with the prosecutor's office?
I did not, Your Honor.
Tell me why.
Because that's not going to pay my bills.
No, Mr. Herndon's going to pay your bills, sir. Can't do what you did, Mr. Herndon. Can't hit him. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I learned from my mistakes, but I still do not feel that I was wrong in any way. I felt threatened, and I did what I had to do.
He felt threatened. The only thing that was threatened was his pride. He just couldn't hang.
It was just a little overboard. I understand that basketball comes with trash talk. I played long enough, but it's a difference between trash talk and just going way overboard with it.
My theory is that he was simply embarrassed by the way I made him look. It was like Kobe Bryant playing against YMCA basketball players.
Things just got a little out of hand.
If you can't play basketball, then don't play.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Carper versus Kuchera, step forward, please.
Donna Carper is suing her ex-boyfriend, Bruce Kuchera, for a loan to move to Nebraska.
Miss Carper, you and the defendant were in a relationship, and at some point, he moved from Nebraska to be with you in what state?
He moved to Las Vegas first. I live in California.
Did he ever move to California to be with you?
Yes, Your Honor.
When?
In 2010.
In what year did your relationship begin?
About the end of 2009.
Your lawsuit seeks money that you allege that you loaned to him to relocate back to Nebraska because he couldn't make a living in the state of California. The defendant says, that's not true. She never loaned any money to me. It was sort of an investment in our future as a couple. He says that after he moved back to Nebraska to try to get a business going, he even flew you out there a couple of times at his expense. Didn't work out. He's not asking you for the money back for the plane fare that he sent to you because it was part of a growing relationship. In the same way, the money that you gave to him to go back to Nebraska because you didn't have any money was paying it forward for your future. So I'd like you to tell me, if he moved to California to be with you in 2010, in what month and year did he move back to Nebraska?
He moved back to Nebraska January 2012.
How much money did you give him to move back to Nebraska?
A little over $2,800.
How was that broken down?
It was $800 for gas, the U-Haul, I have the exact amount in front of me, $1,500, and I gave him $500 in cash, and I gave him $100 to fill up his tank before he left, and besides the cat food and everything else, I gave him and his smokes so he can get back there.
Okay, and the idea was for him to start a new business. You were going into a business? What kind of business?
Auto glass installation.
And tell me about the discussion that you had with Ms. Carper with regard to the business.
Actually, it started back in 2009 when she got a hold of me. I was working for a company. There was a franchise option.
Just a second. I don't have time to go from 2009 till January of 2012.
In a nutshell, I was going to buy a franchise in the company I worked for. I left that company to be out with her. 3 years later, I went back, and I still wanted to do the franchise option, although it wasn't on the table anymore. I lost that.
What kind of discussion did you have with her immediately preceding your relocating to Nebraska?
Our future was going to be back here. I was not a California guy.
Back
I was
where?
Nebraska.
In Nebraska. That she was going to move to Nebraska.
Yes.
Tell me about that conversation. What did you have to do in order for her to come to Nebraska?
Have a job, have a place to live, have some creature comforts. Yes.
That you had the capability.
Right.
Ms. Carper, had you ever been married before?
Yes.
You have children?
I do.
How many?
3.
How old are they?
22, 30, and 18 almost.
Did any of them live with you?
Yes.
Did any of them live with you in 2012?
Yes.
How many?
1, my daughter.
How old is that child?
She's 17.
So only one child. And that child was also going to go to Nebraska?
Not at that time, no.
Where was she going to stay if the relationship worked out?
Actually, it was undecided. That's not true what he's saying. I wanted my daughter to finish school and be in high school with all her friends that she had grown up with. And he told me that I shouldn't worry about what my daughter thinks.
Or whatever. You seem to have worked that part of it out because you did, in fact, go to visit him.
Correct.
In Nebraska.
Yes.
Ms. Carper, when for the first time did you go to visit him in Nebraska?
I believe it was April 2000.
And
I paid for that trip.
Well, if you paid for the trip, I assume that you felt as if there was still a possibility that your relationship would work out. Otherwise, what was the point of going to Nebraska?
I was going to Nebraska because he's a dream catcher. And
you weren't going there for a rock concert or to see an art museum or to go to theater. You were going there to see him.
I was going there to see what Nebraska was like. He promised to be, everything was going to be happy-dory because...
You were going there to see him. I don't care what he was promising. That's what you were going there for.
Okay.
The reason, I've never been to Nebraska. If I had somebody that I cared about in Nebraska, and there's nothing wrong with Nebraska, it's just that I haven't been to a lot of places. One of them that I haven't been is Nebraska.
You haven't missed anything.
Just a second. So I assume the reason you left your daughter in California to go to Nebraska was to see if you liked it. And him. That was in April. You paid for the trip.
He promised he wouldn't be a jerk in Nebraska.
When was the next time you went to Nebraska?
July.
And who paid for that trip?
He did.
How many times in total did you go to Nebraska?
Twice.
So you paid for it once and he paid for it
Correct.
once. And after July, what happened?
That last visit was horrible. He was very abusive to me emotionally, and I knew that was the last time I would see him.
And?
And he promised to give me my money when I went back there in July.
Is that right?
Because he had this business going.
No, not in July, I didn't. In July, I thought there was still a chance of things working out with us.
And?
It was a horrible trip. She was correct. By October, I knew things weren't working out, and at that point, I would say just about anything to keep her off my back. I wasn't working, I wasn't making much. I was just barely over minimum wage. I couldn't afford to live and make a payment at the time. I needed a
Make
better
a
job.
payment for what?
For anything that she was asking. I just
Well,
wanted it
anything
off my back.
she was asking. You're talking about for the money that she had given you.
Well, yes. She
That's the
paid for
money
my
you-
trip back here because this is where it all started. She moved me from here, so I needed to get back here. And now she's asking to get money for moving me back here. Well, she moved me out here to begin with.
I didn't force you to come here.
Don't speak to him. If you speak to him, it's going to be my pleasure to say goodbye to you. Now, she says that you told her that you would give her back this money in the trip in July. Your response was, I didn't tell her that in July.
No, I didn't.
Just a second. That suggests that you told her that you would give her back the money at some other time, which is where we're at.
Right.
And your response to me was, I told her in October.
Right.
Because you wanted her off your back.
Yes.
Well, she's in California.
Yes.
So how could she be on your back?
Texting, phone calls, emails.
Listen to me. You can change your phone number. You can block her number. You can change your email address. You can do anything you like so that she's not annoying you. Right?
That is true.
She's not coming to Nebraska again to see you.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
Did you ever give her any money?
No.
Well, that's why she's here.
Yes.
Did she give you $800 for gas?
Yes, she did.
Did she pay for the U-Haul?
Yes, she did.
How much was it?
Actually, I thought it was more like $1,800, but I'm sure has the receipt from her credit card.
What other money did she give you?
There was gas cards, and she did, in fact, fill my personal vehicle, which was being towed back on the trailer. She paid for that as well as filling the U-Haul truck up. It was around $100 she spent.
Sounds to me like she's asking for much less than what you owe her. $2,800, judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you. Thank you.
How did you step out?
We did have a history. We had a story. I felt robbed of 3 years of my life.
We're going to do that. I'm going to do this for you. And I was suckered in.
I really don't know what went wrong. It just rubbed me bad, and the rest of the trip was horrible.
It's always a dream. I'm going to fix this car. I'm going to buy this business. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And when I went back and visited, he lived in a camper.
Grandiose ideas, I guess. I've always wanted to own a business, and my business that would be my dream, is to own a business.
I think he has a good heart. I think he's got a lot of issues, but I wish him well and hope everything works out with his new life.
I don't wish Donna anything bad in her life. She was a wonderful lady. We just weren't meant to be together.
Sworn in, you may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Miss Holland, I assume this is your boyfriend, Chance. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And the two of you together have a child, or is that child just your child?
She's just mine.
How old is that child?
3.
This is your boyfriend, Chance's aunt.
Excuse
me, Your Honor. I just want to let you know that he's my nephew, but I raised him since he was 10, and he's lived with me all along. So he's like my son.
Now, this is what your case is about. You don't work.
No.
Chance doesn't work.
No.
Miss Peterson let you all come and live with her.
Yes.
She works.
Yes.
She was paying the rent.
No, ma'am. We were paying the rent, too.
With what type of currency were you paying the rent?
I get welfare, and he gets SSI. So we pulled our money out of that.
You pulled your money? You mean you pulled my money?
Yes, ma'am.
That's my money. How much were you giving her in rent?
Each of us gave her $260.
Did the plaintiff give you $260?
Neither one of them. The exchange was I paid the rent, they paid the utilities.
That is not true.
Well, that sounds right to me. How much was the rent?
It was $775, something. It was $800, say.
Are you still living there?
No.
When did you leave?
I left. We moved in, I think it was the 1st of November.
1st of November of 2012.
Yes. And his Uncle Dave delivers furniture. And he left with him one weekend to go help him do that.
What? I'm not following you.
Okay.
Step back.
Okay, I'll step back.
This is what the case is about.
Okay.
You claim that she owes you utility bill because the utilities were in your name and your name alone. You moved out. She didn't take the utilities out of your name. She never paid the utilities. She says that was the deal. She paid the rent on the apartment. You and the boyfriend were supposed to cover the utilities. That's what the case is about. Okay? Now, when you paid your rent, who did you pay your rent to?
I would pull my money out and hand it to him, and when the landlord came, he would go to the door with her to specifically give her the money.
What kind of apartment was this?
It was a house apartment.
A house apartment?
It was a duplex.
A duplex.
What?
A duplex.
Where did the landlord live?
A couple blocks from us. I don't know right where she lived, but I know I would call her to come and get the rent, and she'd come right over.
And when she came to get the rent, did you pay her in check or cash?
I paid her in cash.
Now, how much do you receive in welfare?
$490.
For you and your daughter?
Yes.
How much does the boyfriend get from SSI?
$866.
You had a fight with him at some point, and he left the duplex, or you left the duplex?
No, I left.
Where did you go?
Back to my mom's in Ontario.
And how long did you stay there?
Just up until April, and we got back together, and I moved back in with him.
How did you get back to your mom's in Ontario?
My friend.
Who?
My friend Brittany.
How did she get you back to Ontario?
She has a car, and she asked her husband if she could come pick me up because we broke up.
Can I say something, Your Honor? That night she's talking about, I was at a friend's house, and he come banging on the door, and he had blood on his eye. She kicked him real bad. She shoved him down because he can't really see that good. And I was like, what happened? And he says, I want her out now. Look what she did to me. So I went over, and she started yelling at me in front of her little girl. I said, don't do this in front of your daughter. I said, look,
I did not yell.
Okay, now they're all back together again. Never supposed to interfere in domestic situations because they'll get back together and there's only one person who's bad, and that's you. And you've been the one. You lived with your aunt most of your life?
Half my life, Your Honor.
Half your life. How old are you?
I'm 21, ma'am.
Well, half your life is since you're 10. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. Okay. Tell me about putting the utilities in your name.
Well, when I first moved in with them in August.
Just tell me about it.
She has bad credit. She owes just a loan on electricity about $1,000. So she decided, oh, let's put it under my name.
That she decided?
Yes. And I agreed to make it easier on all of us, and I didn't want any fighting or anything, so I just agreed.
Great. And did you pay the utilities?
Yes. When I lived there, we paid utilities. But when me and Chance broke up in January, I was on his cell phone bill, and he was going to shut it off. But we made an agreement that if he keeps me under his cell phone bill, that I would keep the utilities under my name, but they would still pay it, as long as I also kept my
part. So why don't you sue him?
Because he moved out.
So what does that have to do with her?
Because I would call her and Chance both telling them that, okay, I just got an email saying this is the amount that's due on this day. And she would say, okay, I'll pay it. And then I would get an email 5 days later saying your payment is now past due.
On what date did you move out?
January 22nd, 2013.
Okay. Now, you have bills for monies that accumulated after January 22nd.
Yes.
When did you move out?
Right after she did, because I can't know exactly the date.
No. Just give me the date you
Okay.
moved out. That's very easy to find out from your landlord. What date? January, February,
I moved
March?
out in January.
No.
January 15th, as a matter of fact.
Well, she
Not
said
sure.
she moved out January 22nd.
Okay, well, I was already gone. When they got in their fight, I was already had been moved out.
That's
for
not
moving
true.
out.
Moving.
And I would already,
That is
okay,
not
look
true.
at, what happened was, okay, the day that they got in that fight, which I'm not sure of the day she moved out, I'd say 3 weeks after that, I moved out because he started moving other people in. And I did not want to be there with all the, you know what I mean? So I got my own place. I have my own place since then. That's where I'm at right now.
Now I don't want you to say anything else.
Okay, sorry. I'm sorry.
You're not living in the same place, I assume.
No.
Do you have any proof that she did not move out when she said she did in January?
I don't have physical proof, but...
Any proof? I didn't say physical proof.
He knows. He's my witness. Her stuff was all still there. She was not once moving out.
Just a second. Stand up. Move over there to her, please. Your first name is Chance?
Yes, ma'am.
When Miss Holland left, did you stay with your aunt?
I stayed another month, ma'am, and then...
1 more month?
Yes, because she was...
February. Where did you go in February?
Towards the end of February, I moved back down to my mom's for a month.
You moved to your mom?
Just for a month.
Just a second. Up until February, were you living with your aunt?
Yes, ma'am.
And where did she go in February?
She was still at the place, Your Honor, with the house, with their utilities.
Then what did you go to your mother's for?
Because I was getting sick and tired of her yelling and just treating me like crap because of my condition I have, Your Honor.
And what condition is that?
My eyes, my retina is deteriorating over time, and there's possibility I could go blind.
So she was yelling at you for that?
That, and because she keeps putting me down, how I'm not going to be able to drive her, I'm going to just be like the rest of my family and not do anything at all.
Your Honor?
You got to take care of your own business, Miss Holland. Should have turned the utilities off. You have no proof that she was living there. She just didn't turn off the utilities when she left. Now, you all moved into this duplex together. Is that right?
Yes.
1, 2, 3. According to you, if I believe you, you were all supposed to pay rent.
Yes.
You left, he left, leaving her there
Yes,
to
ma'am.
either pay rent or to move out herself.
When I moved out January 22nd, I think I gave him about $200 even after I left because I was there part of January.
She threw you out and you gave her money anyway.
She didn't throw me out. I left.
Did the two of you have a fight?
Yes, the two of us had a fight.
Big fight?
Yes.
Right, good. I'm not giving you any money. Take care of your own business. If the utilities are in your name and you leave, shut them off. And if you have an agreement with Chance that he'll leave your cell phone on, if you leave the utilities on, sue Chance. She left about the same time that you all did, but you all moved in together.
No,
he can't leave to go to his mom. You can't leave to go to your mom, leaving somebody else responsible for all the bills. Now, why don't you work?
Because I'm in school and I'm looking for a job. But it's hard having a daughter.
What school did you go to when you were living with the defendant?
San Joaquin Valley College.
And what school do you go to now?
The same one, just different campuses.
And when you moved out and moved back with your who?
My mom.
How far is that away from your school?
It's a 25-minute drive.
How do you get there?
My mom. But I have my license now.
Goodbye.
Why is our excuse? You may step out.
Hopefully one day he'll realize, you know what I mean? You know, I've been there for you.
We're together now. We're fine. The problem is her.
And now she'll be there fine for another year. Who knows? Till they get in another fight.
She's always drunk. She's never sober.
Okay, maybe I forgot I've been drunk.
He even threatened my daughter one time when I was out of the house.
No, it's not true. And I love kids, and the threat with the little kid, I don't know what that was about.
Obviously, it's her because even he left.
He was to knock on my door tomorrow. You can come in. But not
May be seated. Folks, have a seat.
All right, Ms. Jasak, it is your claim that the defendant is responsible for an automobile accident. You want him to pay for the bumper of your car. He hit your car in the rear.
Yes.
Mr. Schuster says that despite the fact that he did hit your car in the rear, the accident was your fault. And since I believe that there might be an issue, I'm going to start very, very slowly with this case. Do you understand?
Okay.
On what date did this accident happen?
January 9, 2014.
At what time of day?
Around 5:30.
Where were you going or where were you coming from?
I was going home. I picked up my son from the grandfather house.
And your son is how old?
He's 2 now.
So he was a little under 2.
He was 20 months.
And he was sick?
Yes, he had a fever.
And he had a fever. Was that the reason you were going to get him from his grandfather's house?
No, I was supposed to pick him up anyway.
Does his grandfather babysit for him?
Sometimes, yes.
Where were you that day?
I was at the store doing grocery shopping. When he called me that he had a fever, I went and picked him up.
Well, then let's go back slowly. What time had you brought him? Is it your father's house?
No, it's my boyfriend's father.
What time had you brought him to your boyfriend's father's home?
I would say around 2 o'clock.
2 in the afternoon?
Correct.
And what stores did you go to?
Walmart.
How long were you in Walmart?
Not that long.
How long?
Oh, I don't know, like hour.
And where did you go after Walmart?
I went to some other stores.
What kind of stores?
Well, Marshall.
So you went clothes shopping?
Yes. And food shopping too at Walmart.
Well, first you went to Walmart. What kind of food did you get at Walmart?
Well, milk, bread, all kinds.
Yeah, Miss Jessica, I'm not buying it. So let's be very careful. Don't make the story up as you're going on. You don't go buy milk at Walmart and then go to Marshall's. You don't go buy milk at Walmart and then go to Marshall's. That doesn't make sense.
That was winter. It's cold. I bought grocery shopping, and I always go and leave him at the grandfather house when I go
No,
shop.
listen to me. Don't confuse one thing with another. You left him there, according to you, at 2 o'clock. This accident happened at 5:30. You went to Walmart, you said, for about an hour. That would bring us up to 3 o'clock. And then you went to go dress shopping. That's 2.5 hours that you were leaving groceries, including milk, in the car. I just don't understand that kind of route. In any event, you get a call from the baby's grandfather that says the baby, how high a fever did he have?
Over 100, was 103.
And he called you. And is this your only child?
Yes, correct.
I assume you were upset. So you got back to the grandfather's house. And where were you going to take your son?
Home.
Home, not to the doctor.
No, we gave him ibuprofen, something for fever. So I was taking him home.
Just a second. Did you give him ibuprofen at his grandfather's house, or did you give it to him when you got home?
No, at a grandfather's house.
So the grandfather has children's ibuprofen?
Yes.
Great. So you gave it to him. There was your son crying when you got home?
Was he
crying when you... Now listen to me. Don't make it up. You'll never know, Miss Jasic, where I'm going with my questioning. Don't try to anticipate where I'm going with my questioning. Just tell me the truth, and we'll all be fine. Was your son crying when you got to his grandfather's house?
Yes.
And it was wintertime?
Correct.
So you had to dress him up?
Correct.
Because it was cold enough to keep the milk from Walmart for 2.5 hours while you went dress shopping. So you had to dress him up. What kind of clothes did you put him in?
Winter clothes.
And did he continue to cry?
No.
Wasn't crying anymore? Wasn't fussing anymore. How long was it between the time you got to the baby's grandfather until the time you got in the car? 15 minutes, 20 minutes, a half hour, an hour? What time did you leave the grandfather's home?
I don't know exactly. I didn't look at the time, but I would say it was probably before 5 o'clock.
What time had you gotten there?
I don't know exactly. Didn't look at the time.
I didn't ask you exactly. What did you do when you got to Grandpa's house?
Nothing.
Not say nothing. Tell me what you did. You got to the house, baby is crying, he's got a fever, right? Tell me what you physically do. I walked into the house. Did you take your coat off?
No, I didn't.
You left your coat on, you went to the baby. What did you do next?
I grabbed the baby, I kissed him like always, and I started dressing him up.
And then what did you do?
I put him in a car and started driving home.
When did you give him the ibuprofen?
The grandfather gave it to him earlier.
The grandfather gave it to him. So the grandfather gave it to him and he still had the fever.
Well, he just gave him a couple minutes before I arrived over there. As soon as he called me, he's red and got a fever. He gave him ibuprofen. I arrived there and...
So you left immediately?
Correct.
Great. And so I assume that you were anxious to get him home.
Correct.
Put him in the car seat, which is in the back of the car.
Correct.
And then you're driving home. On what route are you driving?
What road I was driving?
Yes.
Threshold.
And what's the speed limit on that road?
35.
Is that correct?
No, Your Honor, we're on 12 Mile. We're on 12 Mile Road, actually.
Well, I want to know where the accident took place.
12 Mile, Your Honor.
And what is the speed limit on that road?
35.
Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So you were going the speed limit, and you were behind her.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now I want you to tell me your version of what happened.
Okay, I heard something hit the back of my car. I look on my left, and I see this car speed up, pass me by, and start driving in front of me. I was driving after him, and then he pulled on one of the side streets, and...
I'm not following. You hear something hit your car?
Well, he hit me, and
No. Let's go slow, Miss Jasic. This is your complaint. You're driving with your son. You're doing the speed limit. What is the next thing that you see or hear?
I heard something hit the back of my car.
So you heard something hit your car?
Correct.
And?
I look at my left, and I see this car speed up really fast, got right in front of me. So I start driving after him. Then he pulled on a side street. I start driving after him. I was thinking maybe he's trying to run away.
Don't tell me what you were thinking. He pulled into a side street. Did he stop his car?
Oh, he did.
How much after a while?
Couple minutes. He was speeding up, and I drive after him.
Keep going.
So he came out of the car.
He stopped his car.
Finally, he did. Correct.
Yeah, he stopped his car. Go ahead.
He came out of the car, and he started begging me to not call police. He's only 19, working for $7 an hour at the Jet Pizza. I says, okay. I says, do you have any documents on you? He says, let me go to the car and check and bring it to you. He came back and he says he forgot his wallet. He left it in his house. But he says, I don't have insurance. So he said he's going to...
He said he did or did not?
No, he did not.
Did not have insurance.
So he said he's going to call his mother. He called his mother and he told her to give all the information and a driving license number.
Did she do that?
Yes, correct.
So she gave you his license, the registration, and the car didn't have any liability insurance. Is that what you're telling me?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. So she gave you his driver's license number.
Correct.
Okay, go ahead.
But I didn't pay attention at that time when he was writing this to me till I got to the police station and I showed to the officer and that this is not even a driving license number. So his mother lied to him and me. So after that, we exchanged phone numbers. I asked him if I can take a picture of him, which I have right here. And that's it. The next day in the morning, I went and got a couple estimates. I called him. I says, the cheapest I got.
How did you get his phone number?
We exchanged.
So he gave you his right phone number?
Yes, that's correct.
He gave you his right phone number?
Yes.
He didn't give you a phony number?
No.
And he gave you his right name?
Yes.
Gave you his name and gave you his phone number?
Correct.
Go ahead.
So I got the estimates. I called as soon as I got him. I called him and I said that the cheapest I got estimate is 700 some.
Okay. I'm working on the accident. Let's not talk about the damages yet. I have to figure out who's at fault. Now you tell me your story, Mr. Schuster.
Okay, I was coming from my girlfriend's house. We were there for a little while, maybe a couple hours. We got in the car, and we were driving and turned on a 12 mile. The speed limit is 35 there. She was going a little bit slow, driving a little not so straight. I don't know what she was doing. She kept looking in the back, so I didn't know what was going on.
Looking in the back?
Back seat of her vehicle.
Because that's where the baby was.
That's probably it. So I was going to pass her, because I didn't want to be behind her anymore. So I went to pass her, and as I was passing her, she slammed on her brakes, and I hit her car. So it was a tap, kind of. But then I stopped, and she got out. She started saying, I'm sorry, it's my fault. She looked in the bag. She said that her baby was back there and sick. I could hear him crying. She was there, too. And then she got out, and I gave her my information, well, all I had on me.
Which was what?
I had my driver's license. I gave her that. My name, my telephone number, my address, and everything. She said she didn't want to call the cops. So she didn't.
You the girlfriend? You were in the car?
Yes.
Tell me your name.
Brienne Lear.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
Oscar Jasic says fellow motorist Christopher Schuster rear-ended her vehicle on the road. Christopher claims it was the plaintiff's erratic driving that caused the accident.
Did you see Miss Jasic as she was driving? It was in the evening?
Yes.
Was it dark out?
It was not dark. It was getting darker.
Tell me what, if anything, you saw Miss Jasic doing.
Well, when we were driving, like Chris said, she was driving not in a straight line. She did keep on looking back. We didn't know if she was on drugs or drunk, and I was like, just pass her. So as we went to pass her, she slammed on her brakes. Chris did get out of the car, gave her the information. She said, this is my fault.
Mr. Schuster.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Schuster, did you pull off onto the side street?
No, Your Honor. I stopped right there on the side, right there. Just got out and talked to her.
Okay. Go ahead.
When we did get out of the car, she did say, this is my fault. I'm sorry. My baby is sick. I was seeing if he was okay and everything like that. They both decided, the cops didn't need to be called. There was no damage to his car. There was a little crack on her bumper. She even said it was her fault. She did slam on her brakes.
Sit down. Anything else? You weren't there, right?
No, I was at the police station later.
Your Honor.
What?
They didn't go to the police station until 3 days later.
Just a second. I don't care.
Okay.
I don't believe her.
All right.
I actually believe you.
Come on.
I actually believe you. I actually believe what she did was she kept checking on her baby and turned around, and at some point when she was checking on her baby, her foot went from gas to brake. That's what happened. And I actually believe she got out and she said to you, I'm sorry. I believe you. Your case is dismissed. Goodbye.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Bodies are excused, Miss. Step out.
I'm not guilty. He's lying.
What she was trying to do, I felt that she was just trying to get money out of me the whole time.
Too bad I couldn't prove it.
I think she was just trying to scam me. That's all it was.
I learned my lesson to call police and not feel sorry for nobody. It's not worth it.
Pretty much, just watch yourself. If anyone's driving crazy, just get away from them.
Seated. Gentlemen, have a seat.
Mr. Torres, it is your claim that Mr. Gomez intentionally damaged your car with a crowbar.
Yes.
Mr. Gomez says that while you did have a history together and he was angry with you, he didn't damage your car. Right.
True.
So, Mr. Gomez, I'm going to start with you because I like to tell a story of once upon and then follow it through till the end, and then I get to go home.
Got it.
And you get to go home, too. You say that this incident all started about a month before the act that Mr. Torres is complaining of, which happened on what date, sir?
March 10.
Of this year?
Yeah, this year.
And about a month before, you and some friends were at a bar?
Club.
A club?
Yeah.
What's the difference between a club and a bar?
Well, bar is just chilling, and the club's more party.
Do they serve drinks at a club?
Yeah.
So you can do both at a club. You can party and
chill.
drink and chill.
Yes.
But just only I get to laugh. Okay, so you were at a club, and according to you, you got into a fight with one of Mr. Torres's friends.
Yes.
Do you know that person's name?
Carlos.
You know that person?
Yes.
Was he at the club that night with you about a month before?
I don't think so. I haven't been clubbing in a while because my daughter was just born like 2 months ago.
Yeah, I know. What happened when you were clubbing when you got into a fight with a friend of Mr. Torres?
I was on my way to the bathroom, and then on my way to the bathroom, I bumped shoulders with his friends because it gets pretty crowded in there. But I turned around and I saw that it was like 8 of them, and it was just me going to the bathroom. And then when I kept on walking, his friend pushed me from behind.
What's the name of the club? You know that club?
Yes.
You remember when you were there with your friends?
Nope.
No. I want you to think harder.
Yeah.
Maybe you were celebrating your daughter's birth.
No, probably.
Anyway, so now there were 8 of them, 1 of you bump one of them when you were on your way to the bathroom, and what happened?
I kept on walking because I thought it was more of them. And then he pushed me from behind, his friend, Carlos. I turned around and he swung at me, but I moved and I punched him.
Okay.
And then after that, I went back to my table and I told my friends what happened and that we had to go.
Well, why did you have to go?
Because there was a lot of them and I didn't want to get jumped.
Okay, so you left the club.
Yeah, but before I left, I was like, I had to go to the bathroom. I really never went because the fight happened. So I was going on my way to the bathroom, but these guys have moved places. Now they were like down here, right next to the bathroom. So when I was walking towards them, like they saw me and I saw them, and then all of a sudden someone just punched me from behind. And then me and my 3 friends, we started getting jumped by him and his friends.
How many people were with him?
15.
So their number swelled. First
Yeah.
there were only 8 of them.
Yeah.
And now there were 15 people who jumped you.
And my friend.
Did you get hurt?
Well, I got punched in the side. I couldn't eat for like the next day because I couldn't open my jaw.
Oh, that's serious.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not going to go and press charges against someone over that.
Me, I would have wanted them executed.
I mean, but this happened in Tijuana, so.
Punch me in the head. So you weren't so upset about it that you called the police or anything, so you left.
We were leaving, and then when we were leaving, him and his friends, they followed us to where our car was, and they started throwing rocks until they broke the window of our car, and they kicked it, and then finally the security got there, and then they finally let us go, and then we're at the border waiting to cross back over here.
So the club is in Mexico?
Yes.
Do you live in Mexico?
No.
You live in the States?
Of course.
Why do you go to Mexico?
It's a party, because I can't drink here, I can drink in the U.S.
So there's no age limit?
Oh, yeah, you have to be 18 over there.
You have to be 18 in Mexico, 21 here.
Yeah.
So now he and his friends have broken the car windows.
Yeah.
How did you find out his name?
Because I told my cousin about it, because my cousin messaged me the next day when I woke up about the incident. He's like, hey, I heard.
Was your cousin with you?
He was at the club, but he wasn't literally with me, like right next to me.
But he wasn't one of the people in the car?
No.
But he was at the club on the 10th of March?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're speaking with your cousin and?
And I told him when it happened. He told me, yeah, I heard some people got in a fight here. And then I found out later that it was you against some of the people that I was with.
So it was some people with?
Yeah, but I didn't know them. That's why I wasn't with my cousin that day.
Did your cousin give you his name?
He didn't give me the name. He gave me one of the guys' names.
One of the other people?
The guy that I beat up.
He gave you his name?
Yeah.
And what was his name?
Carlos.
I want to know how you got to him.
Because my friend wanted to fight him one-on-one.
You mean the friend that was with you at the club?
Yes.
Why did he want to fight him?
Because this guy was one of the guys that broke our windows in the car.
How did you find that out?
Because my cousin told me who he was. He showed me a picture of all the people that were there at his table. And I was like, oh.
Just a second. Now we're getting down to it. So your cousin, you met up with your cousin, and your cousin showed you a picture that he had taken on his phone?
He texted me a picture.
Texted you a picture of that evening?
Yes.
Looked at that picture, and you recognized how many people?
Like 5 or 6.
And you recognized him?
Yes.
How did you communicate with your cousin to find out his name?
Well, I talked to my cousin, like...
No, we're going to, this all has a reason. Uncross. My questions always have a reason. There was some way you found out his name. Now, if your cousin texted you a picture, see, now I have a picture with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people in it. And you say, yeah, I recognize 5 or 6 of those people. So your cousin writes back, well, who do you recognize? You say, I recognize 5 or 6 of them. How do you get his name? Because you got his name.
My cousin told me.
Your cousin told you his name. Yeah. What did you do after you got his name?
I didn't really do anything.
Well, sure you did.
Until my friend told me that he found out who he was. And I was like, oh, yeah, that was one of the guys that was there.
Right.
And then
And then what did you do?
I didn't do nothing.
Well, we're going to come to a point where you and your friends meet up with him. That wasn't by accident.
No.
That was on purpose, meeting up with him.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes, sir. I mean, ma'am.
Perfect. How did the two of you end up... Stop moving your legs like that. If you can't control yourself, go outside. You understand? Perfect.
I can control it.
How did the two of you get to the same place at the same time on March 10th?
Because he was selling a car, and we...
Yes, because he was selling a car. How did you know he was selling a car?
My friend found out through Facebook.
Which friend? Raise your hand.
He's not here.
Name?
Edgar.
Edgar what?
That's all I know.
So your friend Edgar found out that Mr. Torres, who you had already identified as the person who was with a group that smashed out your car windows.
And beat us up.
What?
And tried to jump us.
And tried to jump you. So your friend tells you that he's selling a car on Facebook.
Yes.
And what do you do?
And then he
No. What did you do?
I told him, yeah, that's him. And that's it. And then after that, he messaged, because I was at work when he called me. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry.
Who called you?
Edgar.
You posted an ad for a car on Facebook.
Right.
And someone contacted you.
A girl.
And you made an appointment to meet her?
Yes.
On March 10th?
Yes.
Where did you make the appointment to meet her?
At a 7-Eleven, 1 block away from my house.
What time were you supposed to meet her?
8 p.m.
And was all of this done by Facebook or by phone?
Facebook. I have the conversation printed out.
I'll look at it in a moment. As a matter of fact, I'm going to look at it right now.
I got the post, too.
Thank you. Selling my BMW, HMU for... What does that mean?
Hit me up.
What?
Message me. Contact me.
Country's going in the toilet. The whole country's going in the toilet. I'm so glad I'm old.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Abdiel Torres Jr. says Salomon Gomez vandalized his car when he and a group of his friends ambushed him. Salomon claims the ambush was payback for a prior incident.
Now, who's Flores?
Me.
Why are you trying to confuse me? I thought your name was Torres.
It's Abdiel Flores Torres. I don't know why they put Torres before Flores.
Okay. Now, who's Gabby?
I don't know who that is. I had no consent of these messages.
So you go to the 7-Eleven to meet Gabby, to show her your car.
Yes.
And when you get there, what do you find?
I was waiting about 10 minutes.
Did Gabby ever show up?
She never showed up.
No. But who showed up instead?
These guys.
Now, what were you doing at the 7-Eleven just about the same time as Mr. Flores Torres was there?
I was driving my friend.
Driving your friend?
He told me, can you give me a ride somewhere? I was like, yeah. And he told me to take him to a 7-Eleven.
Who told you to take him to a 7-Eleven?
Edgar.
Because Edgar wanted to?
Fight him one-on-one.
And how do you think Edgar knew that Mr. Torres was going to be at the 7-Eleven at 8 o'clock?
That's a mystery.
Mystery. I'm really good at solving mysteries. That's why they keep me here. How large a town do you live in, sir?
It's pretty big.
How big?
Like people?
Yeah, like people.
Like a lot.
Not sheep, people. How many people live in the town where you are?
I never counted all of them.
Is it 1,500,000, 250,000? Does anybody know?
Yes.
Are we talking a big city?
Yes.
What is the chance of all of you people ending up in the same 7-Eleven on the same date at the same hour?
Well, he was waiting there 10 minutes.
I'm going to give you you have a 15-minute window. What are the chances in your big town where you live for the two of you that had an altercation to meet up at a 7-Eleven on or about 8 o'clock within a 15-minute window either way? What are the chances of that happening? I was going to say serendipitously. I'm trying to find another word. Coincidentally.
Told you it's a mystery.
It's a mystery. So now you're at the 7-Eleven. And you see him there, and your friend Edgar there is with you. What do you think is funny? You think something is funny?
Mm-hmm.
I hope so.
A little bit.
Great. Aren't you glad you're not standing there?
A little bit.
So now you're there. What happens?
Nothing. He saw us and he took off.
What happened, Mr. Torres, when you were sitting there for about 10 minutes
I was
and the
waiting
lovely and unavailable Gabby?
I went on my Facebook on my phone to try to message her. I'm waiting here for 10 minutes already. Where are you? I couldn't send her any message. I couldn't go to her pictures, her Facebook. She had blocked me completely. So that's when I started thinking, okay, is she going to show up? What am I doing here? Should I just take off? So I said, I'm going to wait 2 minutes. If she doesn't show up, I'll just take off. Before those 2 minutes, these guys show up in a Grand Cherokee Jeep.
How many?
It was a full car. And then I saw 3 of them get out of the car. He was one of them, and they were walking towards me. I looked back, and I just see him smiling. I turned on the car, reversed, take off. While I was taking off, they threw crowbars at my car, and they caused the broken window on the back broken window.
I'd like to see the picture, please. Ah, yes. Do you have an estimate to fix it, or did you fix it?
Yeah, I have an estimate for that.
Did you fix it?
No, I haven't been able to fix it. I don't have the money right now.
Where can I see it? Now, other than as window dressing, Mr. Gomez, did these people have anything to add to this story?
Well, they saw when I got jumped in TJ.
When you got jumped? You mean a month before?
Yeah.
I believe you.
Good.
I believe that that's why his windshield is broken.
Nope.
Oh, yes. You're not Edgar, are you? Where's Edgar?
Not here.
Why?
He's working.
Just a second. He was there. He's the one who can say, nothing happened. I went there to fight him, but he took off. What'd you bring these 2 clowns for? They weren't there March 10th.
Well, they saw when I got beat up.
Who cares? You don't have a counterclaim.
True.
If you had a counterclaim, I would care if you were beat up. Other than that, the fact that you were beaten up just just provides you with a motive to damage his car.
But I didn't.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $350. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I didn't break any of his windshields or anything. I never even got off the car.
Well, I think it's fair for me to get the money that I need to fix my car.
We didn't do no damage to the vehicle.
They all got out of the car with a crowbar each.
He is making it up.
I have a family. I want them to leave me alone.
You may be seated.
Mr. Plasky, it is your claim that the defendant, with whom you share a child, I believe, and with whom you were living, had you arrested without cause. You are suing her for your attorney's fees and for that false arrest.
Yes.
Ms. Gabb has a counterclaim. She said that you broke her door and she wants to be compensated for that. Ms. Gabb, I'm going to start with you.
Okay.
How long were you and Mr. Plasky living together?
We had just moved into the house in February 2013.
Where had you been living before that?
I had an apartment.
And so did he?
He did, but he had moved in with me a few months before that.
And how old is the child that you share?
18 months.
Were you living together when the child was conceived?
Yes.
You've been together for a while.
Yes.
How long?
It's been a little over 2 years when we broke up, which was in September.
In what month and year did you commence your relationship to Mr. Plasky?
We had been together, it was August of 2012, I believe.
Is that right?
August 2011.
Okay, sorry.
August of 2011. And your son was born on what date?
9/11/12.
And at the time that you and Mr. Plasky's child was born, you were living together?
Yes.
And you lived together as a couple. You went to the hospital with her. Mr. Plasky was involved with his son, as were you. Who else lived with you besides your son?
My 2 other daughters and my mother.
Had she lived with you before?
Not before we moved into the house.
Why did she move in with you?
She helps take care of the 2 little ones, like while we're at work, my daughter and our son.
And how old are your other 2 children?
I have a daughter that's 10 and a daughter that's 5.
Now, I'd like you to tell me the date of this incident that caused you to get a restraining order against Mr. Plasky.
It was October 21st.
2013.
Yes.
I'd like you to tell me what happened.
That night, I was at work. My mom and John were at home with the kids, and him and my mom had a small fight, but he had been yelling at my son, Brody, so that's what caused the fight between them.
How old is he?
Now, he's 18 months.
So he was yelling at the son that you share together, not
Yes.
one of your other children?
Yes.
So he was yelling at his own son?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And your mother interfered?
Yeah. So then they started...
let's just get that straight.
Yes.
He was involved with his own son, with whom he had been living since birth.
Yes.
And your mother.
Yes.
That's what happened. So what happened next?
He texted me at work, said I needed to call him. He asked if he could go stay at his friend's house for the night to kind of, dispense the situation. So I said that was fine because my mom would be there with the kids.
Okay. So he had this fight with your mother.
Yes.
And to de-escalate the fight.
Yes.
He said, I'm going to go and stay at a friend's house. What time do you get home from work?
I got home around
Between 10 and 10:30.
And what time was the text message that he sent about the argument with your mother?
I would say probably around 8:30 or 9.
Go ahead.
When I got home from work, I talked to my mom about what had happened. We had had previous problems, so it's not like that was the only night we had been having problems. So I just decided finally it was time that we just needed to go our separate ways, end the relationship. I talked to him on the phone. We discussed this.
No, you came home, you spoke to your mother. We're getting this step by step. You decided after the conversation with your mother and based upon other things in the relationship, you decided it should be over,
Yes,
right?
correct.
And you called him. What time did you call him?
We were talking, it was probably 11:30 at night.
So at about 11:30 at night, you said, it's over.
Yes.
And he said?
That he would come home the next morning, get his stuff out, move out.
Is that so far correct?
Besides the fact that I said I'd come over the next morning, and we didn't really talk about that.
You never talked about that?
Never talked about it. We just talked about our relationship and whether we're going to be together still or not.
Okay. Go ahead.
So anytime that he wasn't going to be home, just because we're girls, we would put the chair underneath the door handle, like for extra security. It's a girl thing. So we had done that because he wasn't supposed to come home that night. So we went to bed, and around 2 in the morning, my mom comes to my room and said that somebody is breaking in. Well, he had told me he was going to be staying at his friend's, so we were alarmed, obviously. So he came in, he had kicked the door down, or forced the door in, and he was like, what, did you think I was going to come in and kill you? Just a weird situation. So at that point, he came upstairs, went to bed.
Went to bed where?
In our room.
And where were you?
In our room.
And the two of you went to sleep together?
Yes.
And what time was that?
A little after 2, around in there.
Okay. Go ahead.
So the next morning, he was getting his stuff out. I had chose not to call the police right when it happened because I do have...
Don't tell me why you didn't call the police right when it happened.
Okay.
Just tell me what happened.
Okay, so...
So the next morning, he's gathering his stuff.
Yes. I left with the kids, so they weren't seeing him actually packing and moving his stuff out. He told my mom as he was leaving that he was going to come back the next day and take Brody, our son. So after he was out, that's when I called the police to have them come and take a picture of the door. And from there, they said that I needed...
Don't tell me what they said. What they said to you was hearsay. At that point, you filed a protective order.
The next day.
And you asked for sole custody, and I want to see the allegations that you made when you filed for the protective order.
I don't have the protective order with me.
Do you have the protective order? I want to see it. In whose name is the lease in this house or apartment?
It was under both of our names.
You have 2 other children. Is the father of those 2 children the same?
No.
I want you to answer my question very carefully. Did you ever file a protective order with regard to either of the fathers of those 2 children?
Yes.
Ah, you're a pro, Miss Gabb. You're a pro and you know how to work the system. I've been in the system. I hope the judge that ultimately hears your case, if it hasn't already been heard, is also a pro in the system. I don't have to hear from you yet. Okay. Because I'm able to rule on your complaint for having you falsely arrested without you opening your mouth. Okay. I've read your allegations, okay, and I've heard your testimony, and what you did was you used the criminal justice system and an application for a protective order as a leg up in a custody dispute with the father of your child. That's exactly what you did, and I have a feeling that you did that before, that you're not a stranger to that system. It's sort of self-help that very often parties use, sadly, mostly women, in order to get that leg up, to get exclusive possession of their residence and to get sole custody of their children. Let me tell you why. Well, I don't have to tell you why. I have to tell the hopefully millions of people who are watching this why. I take domestic violence really seriously. I think that anyone, men or women, who suffer from domestic violence need a voice, and it was all too long before they got that voice. And they now have it. Sadly, women like you give domestic violence, real domestic violence complaints, a bad name with people like me who have to judge them. Because let's recap what you did. You were at work. The father of your child, with whom you had lived as a couple for years, who had custody of him along with you, who was a father along with you, was home with your mother, who you brought in to take care of the children. Not his mother, your mother. Well, he got into a kerfuffle with your mother. Me, I would have kicked her out. It's not her home. It's his home. He's on the lease. It's his home. It's not your mother's home. She wasn't on the lease, was she?
No.
So I would have kicked her out and called the police and said, get that old lady out of my house. Not him.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Ex-fiancée Lori Gabb had him falsely arrested for domestic violence and then obtained a false restraining order. Lori is countersuing for the cost to change the locks to her home.
Okay, I was having a terrible temper, texted you at work and said, listen, I have to let this whole situation de-escalate for a while. So I'm going to go and stay at a friend's house until you get home. You spoke to your mother. Then you called him at night and said, we're done. Well, he's on the lease. You can't say we're done and barricade yourself in the house. You can't do that unless you've done it before. You see how you're smiling? Can't control yourself. So you barricaded yourself into the house. He didn't kick down the door. He pushed down the door because he wanted to get into his home, where he is entitled to be. And you're smart enough to know that if you called the police and said to the police, he pushed his way into the house, they're going to say, well, whose house is it? You're going to say, well, it's our house. They're going to say, he's entitled to be in his house. He didn't have a fight with you. He had a fight with his mother-in-law. Tell his mother-in-law to leave. We can't make him leave because he didn't touch you.
Well, they
and you know that. So very quietly and stealthily, you let him come upstairs and sleep in bed with you. And when he left in the morning, then you called the police. You called the police because, according to you, your mother said when he was orderly, taking his stuff and leaving, he says, but I'm going to come back for my son. I want my son. I love my son, just like you do. Law doesn't give you any special rights as a mother to your child, and you know that, because the law's equal. They say fathers are really fathers. They have rights to their children, the same as their mothers, and it doesn't matter who cooked them. So what you did was get a leg up, because you said, in order for me to do that, I've got to get an order throwing him out of the house, excluding him from the house, saying that I'm afraid of him, saying that he threatened to take my son, not his son, which you did, and some judge actually gave you that order. See, I wouldn't have done that. But we're all different. So you did have him falsely arrested, and he's suing you for $1,500 in attorney's fees. I would have given you a lot more. You have a counterclaim for your broken door. Fix it yourself. You had no reason to barricade somebody who had a perfect right to be in their apartment out of their home. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500. A goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I don't know why you find this funny. I don't find it funny, actually. I find it very sad. Because if what you're telling me is, since this all happened, he's been on a supervised visitation schedule, you, madam, are outrageous.
He has previous anger issues. He was diagnosed with PTSD.
I don't have any anger issues.
He has anger issues. It's well documented.
I was actually arrested at the place where I was living at, and it was kind of messy.
He needs to be in Brody's life. I understand that. And I'm fine with that, but he needs to step up to the plate.
I really don't know what her justification was for it, but it was unjust.
Case 21-24, McPherson versus Hall. All parties, please step forward.
Gerald McPherson is suing his ex-girlfriend, Natasha Hall, for money she received during their relationship.
Mr. McPherson.
Yes.
How old are you, sir?
40.
What kind of work do you do?
Home care aid.
Independent, or do you work for a company?
Home care aid agency.
For an agency?
Yes.
How long have you been working for them?
About a year now, but I've been doing home care for about 3 years.
Prior to working for them the past year, and you're still working for them, is that right? Was there a period of time when you were unemployed?
Not more than maybe 3 weeks, but since I know Ms. Hall...
No, I don't want to know about Ms. Hall.
No, I'm telling you my employments that since I've lived in her residence, I've always worked. I worked at the zoo, Census Bureau.
Don't try to think ahead of me.
Okay.
There was a period of time in 2020, according to you, that you became homeless and were living in a shelter.
Yeah,
and that was in what month in 2020?
In June. So if I can explain the situation. I was living in a house that a slumlord wasn't doing the repairs. So I ended up forcing his hand, him selling the property, and the new landlord and my...
Could you look at me when you're talking?
I'm sorry. The new landlord and my other ex, they kept the property. I moved out. I went to a shelter because I didn't want nothing to do with her or the...
You're talking about her?
No, ma'am.
Well, then don't keep pointing to her. I'm asking you...
I'm just pointing in general. I'm not pointing at her.
You actually pointed
I'm sorry.
to her. When you were in the shelter, were you employed?
Yes, for the Census Bureau,
Okay.
doing the census. I was actually out in the field knocking on doors. I was an enumerator.
So you were not working in home health care, you were a census taker?
At that time, yes.
And did you have a child living with you?
Yes, well, not in the shelter, no. I could not have my daughter in the shelter.
How old is your daughter?
10.
And where is her mother?
She's deceased.
Where was your daughter living when you were in the shelter?
With my mother.
Is she living with you now?
She's been with me since June.
In a new apartment?
Yes, I moved in August 1st.
She goes to school from your apartment?
Yes.
Okay. In 2020, you became acquainted with Miss Hall, and there came a time shortly thereafter, uncross your arms, and there came a point shortly thereafter when you moved into her home.
In August, yes.
Of 2020. And you remained in her home until what month and year?
August of 2022.
And in what month and year did you regain custody of your daughter?
June of 2022.
So there was a period of 2 months when you and your daughter lived in Miss Hall's home.
You could say that, but...
Well, I'm saying that because I just asked you a question about timeline.
No, because me and Miss Hall was going through our dispute about this money, my daughter was staying with my grandma. I only brought my daughter there on certain occasions.
When I say you regained custody of your daughter, was that a court order?
Yes, I have it right here.
Just a second. Was the child removed by court order from your custody?
It was removed because the house...
Don't tell me because.
Yes,
it was yes.
Yes.
I have lots of things to do today.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Child was removed from your custody.
Because I didn't have nowhere to live at the time.
Was the child removed from your custody before you moved into the shelter?
She was removed because I was in the shelter.
Did you take her to the shelter?
No, I was not allowed to because there's no men.
So at that time,
female
did she go and live with your mother?
Of course.
Was that by court order?
No, it was
brought her to your mother?
Yes.
May I see the court order that involves custody, please? I'm not getting an answer.
This is the court order, and this is these two forms. Now, that court order is the current.
Okay, so the child was placed with the Commissioner of Social Services in Pennsylvania. And the child was placed in kinship foster care, which is a program that I am very familiar with the child's paternal grandmothers. So in June of this year, the child was returned to your custody. At some point in August of this year is when you and the defendants separated and you left the house. This is your claim. Your claim is that you won a whole bunch of money in some gambling thing. What kind of gambling thing? I don't want to go back to the year, Gimel, sir. All I want you to do is tell me how much rent you were paying her.
To be honest, I had to...
I don't know. I want you to be dishonest with me.
Gerald McPherson claims his ex-girlfriend, Natasha Hall, wrongfully spent the money he gave her for rent.
Your claim is that you won a whole bunch of money in some gambling thing. What kind of gambling thing? I want you to look at me when you talk, not at the papers.
No, I was going to...
In what kind of gambling thing did you win money?
I betted on 25 games.
What 25 games?
NBA, college, hockey.
Okay, and you bet where?
On FanDuel. It's an app called FanDuel.
Okay, and you won?
Yes.
I don't understand the whole thing. I don't want to learn the whole thing. I don't care about the whole thing. I just want you to tell me how much you won.
Before taxes or after?
Both.
Okay, $36,742, and after taxes, $26,889.
On what date?
So I won the bet on the 28th. It came into my account.
28th of what?
January.
Of what year?
This year.
And you had been living with Miss Hall for 2 years?
Prior, yes.
Okay, and you were working according to you all of that time?
Yes.
Okay, good. Were you paying any rent to Miss Hall?
I have receipts.
Yes, I want to see those. How much rent were you paying?
So when I met Miss Hall...
I don't want to go back to the year, Gimel, sir. All I want you to do is tell me how much rent you were paying her.
To be honest, I had to pay
I don't know. I want you to be
rent.
dishonest with me.
Half her rent is like $425, and she had me pay half the gas and half the electric and half the cable.
Her rent was $425?
No, it's $850. I had to split it. We're paying half and half.
Miss Hall?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of work do you do?
I do customer service.
And who else lives in the apartment with you?
My children.
How old are they?
14 and 13.
How large is the apartment?
It's a 2-bedroom.
And the total rent is $850?
Yes, ma'am.
There's no subsidy involved?
No subsidy at all.
Okay. And you have a lease?
Yes, ma'am.
How much did you charge, if anything, Mr. McPherson as rent?
$425.
Well, that doesn't quite sound fair, does it? Did she make a figure with you of $425?
I paid more than that. I paid $425. That's half of the rent. I paid half of the electric and half of the internet bill.
There are 4 people in the house.
Yes.
Right? Why is he paying for...
only
Why was he paying for half the rent?
Oh, my children don't work, and his child didn't work either.
His child wasn't with you?
The child came with us in June, but she had visitations on weekends.
I don't care if she has visitations. Your children live with you.
Yes.
They don't have to work. They're your children. They're not his responsibility. Okay. I just want to know where everybody's head is at. There came a point, Miss Hall, when Mr. McPherson gave you $6,000 in cash.
No, not in cash.
Check.
No. Both of them were wired. One was directly wired into our Bank of America account.
What? Just a second. When?
The first transaction was on January 31st. The second transaction...
January 31st of?
This year. And the second transaction was the next day, February 1st. $12,000 total.
Do you acknowledge, Miss Hall, receiving $12,000 in your account from Mr. McPherson, or do I have to look at his records?
I do not acknowledge. He gave me $6,000 and $4,500.
$6,000 and $4,500, Mr. McPherson. Does that sound right?
No, it's not right, and I'm going to show you.
Let me see your bank record.
All right. Hey,
and
sir.
Let us assume that it's $6,000 and $4,500 that he gave you in this year, 2022.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay. Let us assume for the moment that you're correct, because you're suing for $6,000.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, because the first initial $6,000 was 8 months' rent. That I'm not.
Let us assume that you are correct, that he gave you $6,000 and $4,500. I'm taking you at face value. In January and February of 2022.
Yes, ma'am.
What was the money for?
That he gave me?
Yes. The 2 different amounts of money.
Yes.
There's a $6,000 and a $4,500.
$4,500 was for me to pay my car note off. And
hey, just a second.
Go ahead.
Why would he pay your car note off?
He said he wanted to.
Oh, no. That's ridiculous. Ms. Hall, let me just check.
Can I say something?
No.
He even wrote that on there for your car note.
No, you said in January he won a bet and cashed it out. A few days later, he gave me money via Cash App to catch up on his rent and as a thank you for helping him out. I don't see anything here about gift for a car note in your answer.
So he gave me the money for the car note, and as far as the Cash App money, he gave me money lots of times. So, yes.
No, I'm talking about the $6,000, madam.
Yes.
Let us assume he gave you $4,500 to pay off your car note. That's what you said.
Correct.
What's the $6,000 for?
The $6,000 was for us to move.
For who to move?
Me and him.
Show me.
The $6,000?
Yeah, show me that there's proof. He says he gave you the money according to his complaint to hold for him.
Yes.
Shh. Just a second. Yeah, February 3rd, he gave you $6,000. This just says he gave it to you.
Yes.
And?
And he told me to hold it so we can move.
Well, you didn't move.
No,
you didn't. Shh. He told you to hold it for him so that you could all move.
No.
So who could move?
So me and him and our children could move.
Well, that's what I just said.
I apologize.
So that we can move.
Correct.
But you didn't move together.
Correct.
So you have to give him his money back. That's simple. Just a second. That's simple. If you say he gave you the money so that the 2 of you could move and that event never took place, but he in fact moved out, you owe him $6,000.
But then he agreed.
Just a second. That's an easy. Okay. Do I have to deal with anything else? Money for lost wages, rent, utilities? Forget it. He paid all of that with the $4,500 when he paid off your car note. Come on, let's get it together. Lost wages. What are the lost wages for?
But then I had to take off from work because of the PFA, and I had to take off from work to go file out the court and things like that. But in the midst of him saying the $6,000, he didn't pay rent. He didn't pay all of his rent.
He paid off your car note. You owe him $6,000. Your counterclaim's dismissed. We're finished. Thank you very much.
Okay.
This court is adjourned.
Well, I don't agree with the judge's decision. I don't think I owe him the money.
That's what women do.
Because he gave me a gift and he didn't pay rent.
I also spent $2,000 on her in gifts.
What's done is done.
I'm taking a break from women for quite some time now.
So I'm glad that the plaintiff's daughter didn't have to go into the larger foster care system and was able to stay with plaintiff's mother. But I was curious that if this was a temporary slip up and he wasn't going to be permanently without housing, why wouldn't he go with his daughter to his mother's house? I was surprised you didn't ask him that question.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah. That's a curious question.
To me, it just seemed like it might have been a better situation to crash at your mom's house with your daughter
With
for
your
a while,
daughter.
but
I'm not sure whether I have that whole story, because they continued the child in care for a period of time, at least for almost 2 years, because he didn't have custody of her while he was living with the defendant.
well, one easy part of the case was that he was owed his $6,000 back.
That's
all we
was
had to deal with.
Yeah, that was easy. Once she got her hands on that $6,000, and he was no longer in the picture, it was hard for her to get.
Case 2067, Garcia versus Taryn. All parties, please step forward.
Amari Garcia is suing fellow motorist April Taryn for damages from a motorcycle accident.
This is a case that's about an automobile-motorcycle collision. Each one of you claims that the other is responsible for the collision. Miss Garcia, you were riding the motorcycle?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were in your car?
Yes.
Okay. And this happened on what date?
March 21st, 2022, around 3 p.m.
In what state?
California.
In the state of California, are you required to have insurance on a motorcycle?
Yes, Your Honor.
Just liability?
Liability if it's paid for in full, correct. Yes, Your Honor.
And were you insured on that date?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you were driving a car?
Yes.
And was your car insured on March 21st, 2022?
Not at the time.
So the answer is no?
No.
Did you have a valid driver's license on March 21st, 2022?
Yes.
From what state?
California.
What kind of car were you driving?
A 2011 Nissan Sentra.
Was it a new car for you, or did you have it for a while?
It's a new car. I purchased it 3 weeks prior to the incident.
And if you bought it 3 weeks before, how come you didn't have liability insurance?
I was looking for insurance, and plus, at the time, I hadn't received my paperwork. It was still in the other person's name at the used car dealership that I bought it from. Your Honor. I hadn't.
You know you're not supposed to be driving a car, Miss Taryn, without insurance.
Yes, I'm aware of that.
Okay. You wanted to say something?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. I have proof that April Taryn purchased her vehicle February 8th, 2022. She drove uninsured for 41 days, and it was not from a lot. It was from someone off the street. I have the proof for that.
I'd like to see it.
Yes. Oh, thank you. For $2,050.
Well, this car that you registered, the selling price was $2,050, according to this.
No, it wasn't. And
well, I'm going to show you vehicle and transfer law. This is 2011 Sentra, and it was signed, but it's LLC. That's his company.
Okay.
So it wasn't off the street, but it said the selling price was $2,000. That's what this says.
I don't have my paperwork in my car.
I want to show this to her. I just want to get some basic facts first, and then I'm going to go to the incident.
But that's to, and...
No, the person, the seller.
And you know, I have my paperwork in my car.
Yeah, but you understand that that's
I understand what you said because it's right there.
That's...
Yes.
Okay, we have a diagram. This happened on March 21st, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You had no insurance, and you were traveling in the bike lane.
No, that is not true. I shared the lane of the car in the right. I would never go into a bike lane. That is disrespectful to the road and riders.
Just a second. Are you allowed to share a lane with a car and a motorcycle?
That is your right, yes.
I know Foothill. Is that where you were?
Yes, Your Honor.
And at a certain time during the day, Foothill becomes very trafficked.
Yes.
And the cars sometimes get stopped because there's a light, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go over to there, Miss Garcia, and show me, please, where you were positioned before you say that you were traveling in the same lane as a car.
Your Honor, I was directly behind this car.
Okay.
Directly behind.
You were
the car.
directly behind that car.
Yes.
And that car was stopped.
They were slowing to a stop.
No, they were stopped because they had to have been stopped because that's why you went around him.
They were slowing to a stop. By the time I got around here, they were stopped. I didn't want to veer into here. I was slowing down. I was around 25 miles per hour. This lane at the time was too close. So I shared this lane on this side.
Miss Garcia, I got it, Miss Garcia. You want me to appreciate the fact that you wanted to get around the stopped car and you wanted to continue to go straight, correct? You weren't turning. You wanted to go straight.
I was going straight, correct.
And so you want me to picture in this tiny mind of mine that instead of going into a perfectly clear bike lane, you inched your way at 25 miles an hour in the same lane as a stopped car.
Yes.
But
this diagram,
you know, I find that hard to believe, Miss Garcia.
Your
I
Honor,
really find that hard to believe. You may be in the right with regard to this, but I find it hard to believe.
The roads are very wide. I have the actual police photo document of that.
I'd like to see it.
Yes, Your Honor. Right here.
And I'd like to see the police report as well. Is there a police report?
It's attached to this.
Fine. Because as you were traveling straight, the defendant was making a left turn. She was making a left turn because the two cars there were stopped, and those were the only two traffic lanes there. Now, I don't know whether she could see whether it's a motorcycle or a bicycle traveling in the bike lane, but what happened was she was making a left turn. According to this, you went into her passenger side. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So where is the motorcycle now?
I no longer have it. The towing company, they sold it.
What are you driving around in now?
1995 Chevy Baville.
Atta girl!
Amari Garcia is accusing fellow motorist April Taryn of damaging her motorcycle. April claims Amari was illegally driving in the bike lane.
Who was in the car with you, Miss Taryn?
My son and his girlfriend.
One of them had an injury.
Yes. My son's girlfriend, she was in the driver's passenger side. And while I was turning into the lane, I just felt a crash and saw glass going into my car. And then she was cut.
Okay. And you had an injury to your knee?
Yes, I have several injuries. And I have photos as well.
You understand, Miss Taryn, that the police interviewed witnesses. The witnesses were in the stopped cars.
Yes.
And at the end of all of their interviewing process, they determined that you were the cause of the collision. That's what it says.
And I don't...
It says that you caused the collision by violating Vehicle and Traffic Law 21-8001, failure to yield when making a left turn. I determined the cause based upon the parties involved and the physical evidence. That's what the police determined. Okay, well, then that's an easy, based upon the police report, because each of you were going to tell two different stories about what happened that day. Police were there, they looked at the physical evidence, they looked at the injuries, they looked at the damage to the roadway, they interviewed independent witnesses, and that was their determination.
I understand, Judge, but the police report had some inconsistencies where, like, she was driving in the bicycle lane, which is against the law. And what I was doing, I was making the left turn, as you know. And these two front cars, which one of them was a witness.
Yes, that car paused to let you make a left turn.
Yes, both lanes. And I was...
No, you said both lanes.
Both lanes paused.
Well, that's what you say.
Yes.
That's what you say. That's not what this says.
See, but they both did. And as I was...
But I'm just telling you.
No, I know.
Yeah,
that's what
I'm just telling you. That's not what this is. That's what you say. There was nothing that prevented those two cars from going.
Exactly.
There wasn't a traffic light. There wasn't a stoplight at that spot.
Yes.
And there was heavy traffic.
Yes.
So it's your responsibility to make sure if you're making a left turn that you have to yield to all oncoming traffic. And so the fact that you didn't see her is really not relevant. And as long as you understand that this police report supports Miss Garcia's claim that you caused this accident by making a left turn when you shouldn't have been making a left turn, that's what this says. And that You know, at the end of the day, it's an accident. That's why it's not called an on purpose. It's called an accident. Neither one of you anticipated it. As far as I'm concerned, Ms. Carcer, you're entitled to be compensated, but I'm going to suggest this to you. If I'm driving a motorcycle, which I would never do, just for me, I think it's wacky. I think there are enough crazy people driving around that I like about 2,000 pounds of steel around me so that if somebody who is not paying attention and there's an accident, I like to be safe. My first car when I was 17, all my friends were getting these cute little cars, you know, that were convertibles, and my father bought me a 15-year-old blue and white Cadillac sedan. It was so embarrassing to drive around in that car. It was a boat. Oh, come on. Everybody else is getting these cute little Corvettes, even if they're used ones. And my father, who loved me a lot, said to me, sweetheart, if you get into the accident, I want you to come out unscathed. And this ensures that you got a shot if you get into an accident. And I feel better. So I'm just telling you, if you're going to drive a motorcycle, don't take shortcuts. I know this place on Foothill, and I know what happened here. You know, you wanted to go, there was no reason why you couldn't. That's why you drive a motorcycle, because you can get into tight places. But you look like an intelligent young woman.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Don't take chances. That was a chance. It could have been a lot worse. What was the damage to your motorcycle?
I have pictures. Would you like to see them, Your Honor?
I would.
I did look it up. Lane splitting motorcycles is legal in California, based on the California Highway Patrol.
Okay, no, I see the pictures. So where is the motorcycle now?
I no longer have it. The towing company, they sold it. They sold it for $70 they claim, and I got hit with collections afterwards. I have the bill for that if you'd like to see that.
How much did you pay for it?
$6,407.
Do you have the bill?
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
For my motorcycle, what I paid for, correct?
Yes, what you paid for it. What are you driving around in now?
A 1995 Chevy Baville.
Atta girl! Atta girl. Okay. I'm giving you the value of the motorcycle.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Which is $6,407. I'm not splitting whose fault this was, actually, but I'm not awarding you any punitive damages for her. She had injuries in her car. You were slightly injured, but both of you seem fine now. I don't think that you were careful enough when you were going straight and around that car that was stopped. But the defendant didn't have insurance, and she was cited by the police for violation of a traffic law. So I'm giving you the cost of your motorcycle.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Judgment for the plaintiff.
This court is adjourned.
So I actually ended up, after the car had made impact with me, the bike went that way, I went up into the air.
It was really frightening.
I hit the ground, I hit on my elbow.
I've never experienced that before.
I was really scared. I thought, like, oh, this is it, my legs are out.
And like I said, I was being cautious, and
thankfully I wasn't.
But it ended up in that kind of situation.
Definitely more safely as far as better gear, and, you know, like she said, don't take a shortcut or anything of that sort.
So I looked up lane splitting, and in California, it's one of the few states that allows it for motorcyclists. It does say inexperienced riders shouldn't attempt it because, like we see, it's very easy to get hit or for someone not to see you if you're splitting between lanes, but it is legal, so she wasn't in the wrong by lane splitting, but I think it was a sticky situation. You're behind a car, someone's turning.
What does it say if you're injured?
It does say on the Highway Patrol website that you're splitting at your own risk, so any injuries that happen are at your own risk.
So they say if you are lane splitting, it's not illegal, but if you have injuries as a result of an accident, if you're lane splitting, you're responsible for your own injuries.
It doesn't say it in a legal term that I could really stick to, but it says it's risky. We're acknowledging that it's risky. You have to assume the risk of lane splitting if that's what you choose to do.
अस्सलामु अलैकुम वरहमतुल्लाहि वबरकातुहू। दोस्तों, आज मैं आपके लिए जो वीडियो लेके आ रहा हूँ उसमें मैं आपको बताऊँगा कि किस तरह जो है ना आपने यूट्यूब पे कॉपीराइट का वर्क करना है। तो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल वीडियो को स्टार्ट करने से पहले जो है ना मैं आपको कुछ ऐसी इंफॉर्मेशन प्रोवाइड करूँगा कि उसका जो है ना आपने ख्याल रखना है خیال کو اس طرح رکھنا ہے کہ جب آپ نے جی میل کا اکاؤنٹ بنانا ہے تو اس کو آپ نے سب سے پہلے جو ہے نا سیکیور کر لینا ہے, ٹھیک ہے نا. سیکیور کیسے کریں گے جی؟ سب سے پہلے جو ہے نا آپ نے ایک جینوئن جو ہے نا جی میل بنانی ہے. وہ کس طرح بنانی ہے؟ اپنی آئی ڈی کارڈ کی بیس پر, ٹھیک ہے نا. جو اس کے اوپر جو ڈیٹ آف برتھ لکھی ہوئی ہے وہ لکھنا ہے, اور آپ کا جو نیم لکھا ہوگا اس نیم کی جو ہے نا اپنی جی میل بنانی ہے. بنانے کے بعد جب بن جائے آپ نے سیکیورٹی والے آپشن پہ چلے جانا ہے, ٹھیک ہے نا. اس پہ آپ نے کلک کرنا ہے. جب آپ کلک کر لیں گے اس کے بعد آپ کو ڈفرینٹ جو آپشن ہے وہ شو ہوں گے. تو آپ نے سب سے پہلے جو ہے نا 2 اسٹیپ ویریفیکیشن کو آن کرنا ہے. وہ کس طرح آن ہوگی؟ آپ 2 اسٹیپ ویریفیکیشن پہ کلک کریں گے, اس کے بعد آپ کو بولے گا کہ وہ وہاں پہ جو ہے نا اپنا نمبر ایڈ کریں. جب آپ اپنا نمبر ایڈ کریں گے تو آپ کے نمبر پہ ایک او ٹی پی جائے گا. وہ او ٹی پی آپ نے وہاں پہ لگانا ہے اور اوکے کر دینا. تو آپ کا جو 2 اسٹیپ ویریفیکیشن جو ہوگی وہ آن ہو جائے گی, ٹھیک ہے نا. اس کے بعد آپ نے دوسرا کام کرنا ہے, آپ نے جو ہے نا ریکوری موبائل نمبر بھی جو ہے نا اسی طرح ایڈ کر لینا ہے, ٹھیک ہے. اس طرح آپ موبائل پٹ کریں گے, وہاں پہ آپ کو کوڈ آئے گا. کوڈ آنے کے بعد جو ہے نا آپ وہ کوڈ لگائیں گے تو جو آپ کا موبائل نمبر ہوگا وہ بھی جو ہے نا آپ کی جی میل میں ایڈ ہو جائے گا. اسی طرح جو ہے نا خدا نہ خواستہ کل کو آپ کا چینل ہیک ہو جائے, ٹھیک ہے نا. تو اس کے لیے لازمی ہے کہ آپ جو ہے نا ایک, اگر آپ کے پاس ڈفرینٹ میلز آپ کی پہلے سے بنی ہوئی ہیں, جیسے میں 15 سے 20 میل یوز کرتا ہوں, ٹھیک ہے. تو آپ نے جو ہے نا ایک میل کے اوپر جو ہے نا کسی دوسری میل کی جو ہے نا ریکوری ڈال دینی ہے, ٹھیک ہے. تو یہ بھی آپ نے لازمی کرنا ہے. 3 پوائنٹ ہو گئے. اور چوتھا پوائنٹ جو ہے نا گوگل کی طرف سے جو ہے نا آپ کو کافی آپشن ملتے ہیں سیکیور اکاؤنٹ کو سیکیور کرنے کے لیے. آپ کو جو ہے نا بیک اپ کوڈ ایک ملے گا, ٹھیک ہے نا. آپ نے اس کا اسکرین شاٹ لے لینا ہے, یا آپ نے لکھ کے یا اس کا پرنٹ آؤٹ نکلوا لیں کسی شاپ والے پرنٹنگ شاپ پہ چلے جائیں, وہاں سے جو ہے نا آپ اس کا پرنٹ آؤٹ نکلوا لیں اور اپنے پاس رکھ لیں. خدا نہ خواستہ کل کو آپ کا چینل ہیک ہو جائے, کسی بھی صورت میں آپ صرف وہ بیک اپ کوڈ لگائیں گے اور آپ کا چینل جو ہے نا ریکور ہو جائے گا. اس طرح جو ہے نا گوگل اتھینٹیکیٹر جو ہے نا اس کا بھی آپشن اویلیبل ہے, پاس کی والا بھی آپشن جو ہے نا اویلیبل ہے, اس کو بھی آپ یوز کر سکتے ہیں. لیکن اتنی سیٹنگ فی الحال کافی ہے, ٹھیک ہے. اس کے بعد جو ہے نا آپ نے کیا کرنا جی, آپ نے گوگل کروم پہ چلے جانا ہے, اور وہاں پہ جا کے جو ہے نا آپ نے اپنے یوٹیوب چینل کی سیٹنگ کرنی ہے. وہ آپ نے سیٹنگ کس طرح کرنی ہے وہ آپ کو نیکسٹ ویڈیو میں بتاؤں گا کس طرح کرنی ہے. اور اگر آپ کو میری ویڈیو پسند آئے, اچھی لگے, میرے چینل کو سبسکرائب کریں, بیل کے آئیکن کو پریس کریں تاکہ لیٹسٹ جو ویڈیو ہوگی وہ آپ تک جلد سے جلد پہنچ سکے. السلام علیکم.